I love that music on a Tuesday morning. What's up, everyone? Welcome, Arvanauts. Welcome to a Tuesday stream. It is 10:28 a.m. on February 11th, 2020. Welcome to day 60 of Adventures in Middle-earth Wilderland Adventures, The Watch on the Heath, which is the final chapter of Wilderland Adventures. This is not the final session, but it is definitely the final chapter of this particular campaign of Wilderland Adventures, and I'm very excited to bring it all to you with the full crew. But before I get there, let me remind everybody about ways to support the stream. If you haven't done so already, please make sure to follow the channel. That's one of the best things you can do. If you haven't done so already, please make sure to check out the YouTube channel, which has past broadcasts of this stream. !ArvTube for that. Thank you, Echo. !ArvCord is my Discord channel where you can hang out with the Arvanauts in between streams. That's always a good thing. !ArvTweets will get you over to my Twitter where you can retweet the stream. In this case, you're retweeting my own retweet of Trendane's tweet. So it's tweets all the way down, basically. It's tweetception. But you can do that at !ArvTweets. Please do that because it broadens our audience out beyond just the lovely Twitch community. You can find out all of that on my website for this, arvaneleron.com. On the financial side, !ArvShop will get you merchandise for both the Infinity and Beyond crew, currently playing Curse of Strahd, and will also get you stuff for the Amazing Adventures of Middle-earth crew with illustrations by our very own Terrytoons. There will also be Esper Genesis stuff going up there soon as well, which is going to be awesome, so that's coming soon. The Patreon, !ArvTreon, sitting at 313. Would love to see that continue to go up. I get the most money through that, and that really allows us to put a lot of things back into the channel, including various game purchases from Games of the Month, Patreon-fueled Games of the Month, and also allows us to do things like pay my voice actors when we do those, allows us to commission new videos and music for the channel, etc., plus writing stuff. So all of that is helpful. So again, that's !ArvTreon, and you can get inspirations for yourself to use with the players as well. Those inspirations were reset as of last month, so I think we've used a couple of them in our Curse of Strahd adventure that we had last weekend, but again, there are plenty that are remaining, so you have a chance to use them now. That's Patreon, !ArvTreon for that. And last but certainly not least, of course, that sub button right above the video window, currently sitting at about 46 subs, I believe, at last count. So again, we're trying to pull that north of 50 and keep moving upwards. You can get awesome stuff for yourself and awesome stuff for the channel, custom badges, custom emotes, and things like that. And I also want to note that inspiration points thing, the first 2 viewers to redeem Arvanaut inspirations for 30,000 channel points each month get a free inspiration. And there are currently 2 of those left to claim. So if you have 30,000 channel points, you could pick up an inspiration for use. Again, just like the others, that has to be used this month, otherwise it will expire. And there are only 2 of those available before they go. So those are going to be happening, and that's the deal with that. And then the last point, and that's, by the way, thanks to Coven Guy for being the one who's kind of spearheaded that effort on coordinating the bot and all that. And last but certainly not least, of course, we have the publishing stuff, !Library. I see Echo talked about receiving his Forbidden Library PDF. I hope, Echo, you enjoy it. I'm really proud of it. We put a lot of work into it. Really excited about the art, really excited about the adventure and the story. It is my 5e compatible sourcebook and adventure, so you can find that over at find that at !Library. You can get it from DriveThruRPG. It is heading off to the printer, and it will be back in about 5 weeks from the printer. Fortunately, the printer is in Texas, not China, so all the stuff going on in China with the coronavirus and everything has slowed down a lot of shipping out of China, but not from Texas. So fortunately, that's good. And yeah, the real book version, I hear you, man. That's 5 weeks away, 4 to 5 weeks away. I can't wait for it also. But we put the PDF out first to get it out to people immediately, and then print versions are on the way. I cannot wait for it myself. I'm with you right there. Icarus will I to pre-order my graphic novels, Icarus and Jelinek. Very excited about how good those are coming together, and that will be available in May. So you can pre-order it now. And last but certainly not least, Grayshade KS. More details about that Kickstarter, which is going to be in March. That will be coming, details about it, the announcement will be coming for like the official dates and all that late this month. So that's what's happening, and I'm very excited about that. Now, schedule-wise, today we we've got Adventures in Middle-earth. Then at 4 p.m., I'm going to be over, as usual, on the GOG channel, playing Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. And I'm excited to say that I'm going to be breaking out for the first time my new second PC. I have a gaming PC set up, which was basically thanks to the largesse and the expertise of Dragonspear, combined with the support of the Patreon and the subs. So that all means that it's gone back into the channel for this, and so I'm going to be streaming with 2 PCs for the first time. I've done a bunch of tests on it. I have a new beastly gaming PC that I'm very excited about, and so I'm going to be playing The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt with that. So I get to play it on ultra settings on my end, and you guys get to see it nice and smooth and clean. I'm sure I'll have to do a bit of tweaking here and there, but I'm very excited about it, so it's going to be cool. Exactly, pro streamer all of a sudden, so I'm excited about that. Hey Chrono, and hey Nonstop, and hello Arudnell, and Coven and the rest. So I'm excited about that. That'll be awesome. And that is going to be this evening at 4 p.m. or this afternoon, I should say, at 4 p.m. Eastern. Then tomorrow we've got Dragon of Icespire Peak at 9 p.m. Eastern with Shadowed Mage and, of course, Echo Alpha X5 himself in chat as a player, along with Rock God, Kilobyte, and Hoodie. So it'll be day 2 of that campaign. Then Thursday we have the Rambo Academy for Wayward Writers. That'll be happening at 8:30 p.m. Eastern on Thursday night. And then Friday and Saturday, no official streams because I'm going to be up at a conference in Boston called BosCone, BOSKONE. I'm going to try to do an unofficial stream at some point while I'm up there, but I don't know when or how that's going to be possible or if it'll be possible, so that's why I don't have anything officially planned after that until next week. So you got today, you got Wednesday, you got Thursday, and then you have a little bit of a break unless I do an unofficial stream until we get to next week. So that's what we're looking at. I'm excited, and that's what we've got going on. But today, we have got the amazing, incredible, Anduinauts, which I believe is what we're calling them. I'll have to double check if they're okay with that. So I'm going to introduce this full new crew of what was called Anduinauts, as I have just unmuted or so they can hear it. And then I'm going to unmute them and head over to see the full crew. Look at these lovely people. See, I mean, this is where it's at. If you want the best possible Middle-earth roleplay you're going to find in the world today, you can come right here and do that. Or at least it's the best one that I know of at the moment that's playing on Twitch right now. And so I am very happy to welcome them in, and I will start as per usual with the gentleman right below me. And I can't help but notice that two of the Anduinauts are wearing shirts that seem to fit this description. There's 1 and 2, and yes, exactly. And Trent is reaching behind for that. Yes, exactly. So the only one who doesn't have one right now is the one who didn't give me his right address. So that's that's not his fault.
Did he give you his left address?
Pretty much. Yes,
You'll never know where I live.
Exactly. If only you had told me. No. But I am, soon Will have that too, and then he'll join in with us. And I still need to find. I need to just find one that has. Again, I'm having a hard time deciding which one to get because I don't want to favor anybody. I love everyone equally. I don't want to be like get the one shirt that's like better than everybody else. So I'll have to decide. Someone said to me when I told them that, they're like, you should get all 4 of them. I'm like, and then there's the thing about money and how I kind of can't afford to buy 4 shirts at once. So, we'll see. I'll make a decision at some point. Regardless, it is my great pleasure to welcome, first of all, the person right below me. Thank you, Chrono Travis, for the host. I appreciate it. Mr. Trendane Sparks, who is with us. Hello, Trend. How are you this early in the morning? Yes, I see it. I see it indeed. It is
voted.
He voted. And so voting is in. It's
right
good stuff.
There. I voted.
Every time, all the time, every time. So yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, things are going okay. The apparently, according to John, from when we played D&D on Saturday, the BattleTech audiobook is doing well.
Mm-hmm. Very well.
I think you might have been looking at the Amazon numbers and not the Audible numbers.
I might have been.
You were talking about like 75.
I was talking about the reviews.
Like no, it's got like 3.
Then I must be looking at the Amazon numbers. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's doing all right. And yeah, thank you, Arudnell. That would be the thing there. Anyways, that's going well.
Let's get Trent and Audie. Let's do it.
Woo!
Let's get Trent and Audie right now.
Is that a thing?
Yeah, it's a thing. It's a thing, and it's one that you will deserve. So let's do it.
I will someday, probably, maybe. Anyway,
right, you deserve it.
Yeah, exactly.
Stop. Who was it that said that? I mean, that's Jack Nicholson. But no. Oh, I was thinking of one of the Skeksis. Stop.
Oh, wow.
That's what I was thinking of. Okay. Mix and match. That guy who I just mentioned and the Skeksis. Yeah, that's not frightening at all. So I'm Trent Sparks. I'm a professional voice actor person. I also love tea that's been steeping too long.
Yay! Thank you. It's not too long if it's just long enough. It's like a wizard.
I made this yesterday.
That's
people are disgusting.
It technically last night, but it was before midnight, so technically yesterday.
Hasn't burned through the mug yet?
No, it's cold, but it's fine.
Tari's face is like a gift.
I'm just like thinking of all the times where I accidentally let green tea steep for too long and it's just undrinkable if it's like 1 minute over.
That's a very different thing. Yeah. That green tea oxidizes very, very quickly.
Black tea is like when you're friends with someone and they like it takes them a while, but they finally totally relax in your company and you end up having like a really lovely conversation because of the time that they've taken to relax. That's what it's like when black tea steeps for 10 minutes. That's just great.
So you're saying not well steeped tea is like an ill at ease friend, basically.
The ill omen.
You are an anxious tea.
I want to soothe you. Have more steep.
But I'm playing Tonibert, the Hearthminder, who has acquired his dwarven enhanced leather armor, which he has chosen to name the Mountain's Hide.
Yeah. The Mountain's Hide.
That's so good. Yeah. I love it.
I was very proud that it came to me so quickly in the last episode. I was like, I'll think of something. Wait, I've got it! And it just hit.
The Mountain's Hide. Yes. I also want you realize that anytime a hit is avoided by your new armor, you need to declare that as like, that was avoided by the Mountain's Hide. Like, you need to brand it every time. It's like,
with absolute proximity effect on the microphone. Yeah, okay, that's a great plan. This sounds completely overblown, like somebody's got their car stereo bass turned way too
exactly.
far. Anyway, yeah. So he's kind of a pacifist, and he just focuses on healing people because he used to hurt people a lot. So he's a scholar and a healer.
Indeed, and there'll be quite a bit of use. In fact, as soon as we're done with introductions, we will begin with a scholarly check before heading out to try to find out where the hell this place that you're going actually is.
Then I'd better put this shirt on, hadn't I?
Yes, indeed. Always a pleasure to have Trent with us. Also, always a pleasure to have Mr. Will Jones back with us again.
Hello.
Who has completely changed. He built a whole new studio for us, as you can see, just for us. This is just his Tolkien studio. It only gets used for this and all. Now, how are you, Will?
Awesome.
How's life in the universe with you?
I'm good. I'm excited to be back today. Totally remembered that it was 10 a.m. and not 12. Cue me furiously getting in a dog walk before for today's show, but we managed to get it done.
Where's the puppy?
She's currently biting my toe, but she just had she just went to the groomers, and so she's all extra floofy, and you see her little paws, and she smells so good.
Internet melts. It like you literally lifted above, and all of a sudden you just hear like the pitch of everything goes up. Like
yeah.
You use olive. It's super effective.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have asked for that puppy because
I know. It's
so perfect.
Stream over. But yeah, no, we're good. We're good. She's having a great time. She's now about 9 weeks old, so she's getting super bitey. But yeah, no, I will be playing, however, Robar Staunton, Dunedain, king of some place that no one's ever gone to or heard of. But they have food now, those people.
Yes.
And that's something that I'm very happy about, and so is Robar. So that's my big win. Oh, and we leveled up recently, right? So now I'm even more powerful than before.
34th level.
Oh, that's right.
That's right. So let's just head straight to Mordor at this point.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. I look forward to all of that. Although, what level do you folks have yourselves listed at? Like,
we are level 7 at this point.
that is not true.
It was 6.
What I have you.
Or 5? I don't remember.
I thought I
no,
still
we
had...
are 5.
I thought
We're
I
still
still had
5?
I thought I still had
for some
you at
reason I
5.
thought we lost.
You're right that you gotten new and awesome.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
That's
We got
true.
new gear. That's what I was thinking.
You said that
I was
immediately, like my brain twitches. I'm like, what?
I just want, all I want is for River to get to level 7 so that she can have 2 attacks per round, because then she will be fucking fierce. And I mean,
Pretty
she's already
fierce now.
Yeah, but you'd be fierce twice as much per round.
Twice as fierce. Yeah, I mean, like, listen, you'll have that just in time to retire, so that's great. No, although actually though, I think I did actually. You know what though? As I look at this, I did make an error in this because of the lack of fellowship phase. You should have leveled up to level 6 after the end of our last adventure.
What did I tell you? I just leveled us up.
So you're quite right. It's level 6. You should be level 6. Actually. So you can all furiously start looking that up as soon as.
Do we just level up when I say?
I don't know.
Try it again. Now you're level 2. Oh shit!
Oh shit! What happens to level 6?
I can't get you to level 7 yet, Amal. Sorry, but
maybe I'm misremembering. Maybe it's level 6. I'm gonna look it up. I'm gonna look.
Yeah, it is level 6. I look back at the adventure and I realized that I always check that during a fellowship phase, but this is the only time we have not had one between adventures. So
right.
So I didn't look at it. So yes, it is actually level 6. So you did level up, actually. Yeah, exactly. Robar revealed royalty. I'm like, you're right, level 6. That's funny. It is, yes. So they are level 6, but it's a great pleasure to have Will back with us. Thank you very much, Will. As I will let Will and Tren furiously begin to look at level 6's things and Amal, while I move on to the third member of the party, who had a very busy session last time because she was awarded the favor of her people, and like King Dane was like, basically knighting her or the equivalent, and like all this stuff, like in his service and all that. So it was a very, if you like dwarves, last session was for you. But it is a great pleasure to have Terry Tunes back with us again. Hello,
Hi.
Terry. How are you?
I'm good. Also, I have something very exciting to tell, because last weekend, well, the second to last weekend, I went to see the Lord of the Rings and Hobbit concert featuring Billy Boyd. And that was so good.
Was it? Oh man.
Yeah, like I bought
so
the
jealous.
tickets like last year in summer as a birthday gift for my boyfriend, and then like finally the concert came around. Yeah, like, I mean, there were some like technical hiccups, sadly. Like, I know like one of the mics or one of the cables for it was like kind of broken, sadly, but like, oh my god, it was so good.
Oh man, I'm
so
jealous.
magical.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, and like it started off with like a recording of Christopher Lee, which I was like, whoa, what the hell?
Wow.
And not like, he was like, yeah, hello, welcome to this and that, and then like he kept talking in German, and it's like so delightful because of his accent.
Mm-hmm.
And he always thinks his German is bad, but it's really not. It's like so funny when you see interviews with him. Like, yeah, I don't feel very comfortable speaking German. It's like, why?
Wow.
Why? But yeah, that was so beautiful and great, and
Man, I'm super jealous.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love. I have not yet had a chance, even though it's been in New York a couple times, to get over to see a concert of, not even the one with Billy Boyd, just like just a regular one with the along with the film. But I really want to do that someday.
Yeah. It's worth it. It's definitely worth it. Like, not very cheap, but like I got lucky because like the concert hall where it was happening is like owned by my bank. So I get like a 10% discount on all events that happen there, which is super neat.
Nice. If you had waved around the fact that we were sponsored before they got out of publishing the game, maybe they would have been like, here, have an extra 30% off. But who are you playing today, Terry?
I'm playing Inge, daughter of Ida. She is a dwarven wanderer and mason by trade, and now she is also effectively a knight. I think the full title is Council of Dine, well, I guess
Yep.
Council of Dines II specifically.
Yep.
Need to add that in my character sheet.
So
There
much.
we go.
Yep.
And yeah, like she has a pony and stuff. Who hasn't been with her for a while now, but like there was this heartfelt reunion last time.
And he is going now with you. I mean, like, all jokes aside, you can't always put, you know, Lillimon in bubble wrap. You know, this is what he's for. I mean, he's for travel, right? I mean, like, you know.
Well, yeah, but like right now he's in the stables. So.
Yeah, that's true. At the very moment, yes. But I mean, when you leave, which will happen this session, then I assume Lillimon will accompany you. Yeah. It's like, I've decided to never take him away again. Just Lillimon spent the rest of his life standing in a stable. But it's a great pleasure to have Terry with us. As always, you also can see Terry here, usually one Tuesday a month, doing some game book illustration stuff. So hopefully we will get a chance to do that again this month, or soon thereafter, if not. And on our, as we call them, Tolkien Tuesdays. But always a pleasure to have Terry with us, and also a pleasure to have Amal Almatar with us, who is wearing her shirt proudly along with Terry and Tren now.
Yeah.
And it is good to see you, Amal. How goes life with the with teaching, with the pursuit of doctorates, etc.? Obviously, and of course with your writing. But I mean, that goes without saying. So I'm curious about the other stuff too.
Yeah, it's actually, you know, holding steady. Next week is reading week, so I actually have that off from teaching, which is to say I don't have to be in class, but I have all of the marking to do because like the students have been turning in work, and so I have to mark the work and so on. The circle of life and so on. But yeah, it's been pretty good. Like, the students are great. I'm teaching a creative writing course, which I'm really enjoying, in addition to a couple of others, and it's pretty good. I got some lovely writing news in the last couple of days, which is that This Is How You Lose the Time War got shortlisted for the British Science Fiction Fantasy Awards.
Awesome.
The British Science Fiction Fantasy Association's award. It's a BSFA, anyway.
Yeah.
So that's nice, and it also won a Stabby Award from our fantasy on Reddit, which is delightful because that means at some point I will expect a knife in the post with my name on it.
Which isn't at all suspicious,
but
right?
not
To the
in
post,
a
like,
way, in a triumphant way.
Yeah.
So that's nice. Both Max and I can have offhand weapons now for when we duel.
Good.
As one does. And it's things are okay. They're holding steady. I'm missing my husband though, because he's been in the UK since January 22nd.
Oh, that's rough.
Yeah, I miss him. He's
probably
not watching, but
home soon, I assume.
Yeah, it's like there were some complications with him staying, so he's supposed to be coming back on Wednesday, but he's actually going to probably be coming back like a week later. So it's just a little lonely.
Aw.
And the cats are also missing him. That's like our code for when we don't want to say how much we miss each other. It's like, the cats really miss you.
Aw. I can imagine it's a super long thing. Well, we will do our best to keep you company and make you forget the loneliness just a little bit if we can. And just one quick note, which I should say, as you know, Amal's already heard me wax poetic about how good I think This Is How You Lose the Time War is. And two quick notes about that. One, I have no doubt that it is the first of many awards for that book coming this cycle. Secondly, I had one of my fantasy fiction students. I have a good group of students. I always have a good group of students, but I mean, in particular, they're really enthusiastic this semester. And so at one point they were mentioning, they're like, well, you know, and there's this thing, I mean, have you heard of a book called This Is How You Lose the Time War? I'm like, not only have I heard of it, but I am friends with the author, one of the co-authors. I know both of the co-authors. It's like, you know both of the I'm like, yes, and I'm friends with one of them, and I play. So when I mentioned that I played a game with you, like, literally staggered. She's like, what? She's like, that's the greatest thing I've ever heard. I'm like, well, she's great. She's like, that's amazing. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, so she was like super fangirling out. So I wanted to let you know that. Yeah.
This is the loveliest thing. Whenever anyone tells me about this, it always makes it feel slightly more real that like the book is out. Like it's, you kind of hope that when you put a book out that your friends and family will enjoy it. You try to not have the expectation that they will, because for variety of reasons. Like, you publish a book, don't ask people whether or not they like it. That is cruel and terrible. But like, even while not having the expectation, whenever someone out with that group actually like communicates to you that they loved the thing that you did,
Oh
it's
yeah.
like, what? Really?
It is the best. It really is the best, yeah.
The book exists somewhere beyond my reach.
Yeah,
That's so amazing.
So it really is. But anyway, I wanted, I was like, yep. So you already knew the fans exist, but yes, real fans in life.
Real fans in life who interact with my friends. It's like,
yes,
thanks.
it's super cool. Who are you playing today, Emma?
I am playing a character called The River, who is a woodsman of Rosgobel. She is a warden, aka a fighty bard, and she has a faithful hound of Mirkwood named Stone.
Indeed. And that sound, always a pleasure to have Mal with us, and that sound of dice rolling is because people are figuring out their new level 6 abilities as they've been staring wildly at their screen.
Stone levels up! Stone gets to level up too!
Yep.
Because he gets more hit points.
These are all true facts.
Level. Oh, I'm so excited!
This is a true fact, yes. So while you folks are figuring out more of that stuff, I will quickly recap for the audience what happened in our last session. As people will remember, there was in the session before that I think 3-session long, maybe even, enormous battle against the army of the Gibbet King, who is this dark, shadowy spirit that was somehow allied at some point with Dol Guldur and the necromancer therein. And the party has been gradually addressing this growing shadow, this growing threat over the course of the Wilderland Adventures campaign. And the full force of his might was revealed to them in the last session, in the last couple of sessions before last one, where the party managed to hold off the army at great personal cost and almost at the cost of all of their lives. Like literally all of them were down except for Stone. But they managed to hold them off for long enough for Bard and the rest of the armies to arrive and rout the enemy. But in the aftermath of the fight, the body of the Gibbet King was not found, and so the evil spirit, it is assumed, had escaped somewhere. In our last session, beginning the final portion of Wilderland Adventures, The Watch on the Heath, the party was summoned to a council with King Dane himself, who asked them to, basically spoke with them in his throne room below the Lonely Mountain and Erebor, and basically explained to them that they had been visited by no less than one Bannock, the person who had been responsible for poisoning the warriors that caused the whole invasion of the Gibbet King army to be a potential disaster for the good people of Wilderland until the party thwarted those efforts. But Bannock was the person that had originally created all of that, and it was discovered that Bannock had actually come to the dwarves and asked for information regarding this area to the north of what is known as the Waste and the Withered Heath, this watchtower. The dwarves did not know why they were asking for this information initially, but he gave him some access because at the time they had no reason to suspect him. It turned out that Bannock is also none other than the brother of one Lockmond, a character that the party managed to kill earlier in the adventure after Lockmond had basically attempted to work with orcs against the dwarves and the free peoples of Middle-earth at the Dwimmerhorn. And the party did manage to defeat Lockmond, and apparently his brother Bannock had not forgotten what the party had done or his attempt for vengeance against them. The party ultimately had just sort of found out about this information and decided that what they needed to do was find this watchtower for themselves. Clearly, this was the focus of something associated with sort of darkness, in that the watchtower was originally built by the dwarves centuries before to look out over the lands where dragons usually would roam. And although Smaug, of course, is dead now 5 years, he's not the only dragon that exists, and so there's a reason that it's called the Withered Heath that the party is going to be going to. And so the party volunteered to traverse the waste and go into the Withered Heath to find this watchtower, and it will be a dark journey. The waste is known that way for reasons, as I'll talk about when we actually get there. It is a incredibly foreboding, doom-stricken place, and I believe the description I gave last time was that the desolation of Smaug was a wound that can heal. The waste is a scar that will never get better, and that is what the party is about to cross. But there was some good news from the party, and that is that not only were they given, thanks to in-game thanks to incredible, diplomacy and the proper use of language at the right time, etc. But also thanks to, we got a 17-person raid from D20 TV. Hello, D20 TV. Welcome. Thank you. Thank you so much for the raid. I appreciate it. Welcome, everybody, to Adventures in Middle-earth, Wilderland Adventures. I'm just doing the recap. Thank you, everyone. Good to see you all, raiders. So, yes, hello, Silos, etc. Thanks, everyone. I appreciate it. Hello, Ninth Pawn. Wow, this is great. We don't usually get a raid during the day. Thank you, D20 TV. I appreciate it. I assume you were playing D&D. I'm just taking a guess from the username, but... let me know if that's the case. And thank you so much for the raid.
We were playing Pong, and we decided we'd step it up a little bit.
We play Fortnite, and anyway, the party was not only given that, not only given the honor of being servants of Dane, and Inga in particular was, as she said, elevated to the Council of Dane for her efforts. Out of game, they rolled really well on their diplomacy audience reaction checks. But the other thing that was given to them was the ability to take this book with them, the book that had a page ripped out of it, that was this page that showed the watchtower. They were allowed to carry this book, and also they were allowed to choose equipment and weapons, legendary weapons, in fact, from the armory of Erebor. And so each party was given those things as well. Oh, nice, D20. DMing a homebrew, working maps for new campaigns. Sorry, playing Middle-earth and had to come check it out. Well, awesome. Welcome, and I'm so glad that you're here. Thank you. Hopefully you and your viewers will enjoy it. And thank you, everybody. The party got these weapons and is now prepared almost to leave. But there are going to be a couple of things before we do that. First, I'm going to need to hear from the party what they have named these new legendary weapons / armor. And secondly, we will need to have a scholar check from one Mr. Tawny Bear, who is helping Munin, the scholar, who basically is one of the greatest scholars of the dwarves, to try to figure out where exactly this watchtower is so the party knows where to go. So with all that said, I'm going to hand back over. Yeah, all Destiny stream. Yeah, sure, exactly. D20, the Destiny channel. I can see it. So with that said, I'm going to hand things back over to the party, and I'm going to ask each of you individually what the name of your stuff is. So I'll start with you, Trent, because I know you already know the name of yours.
Right, but actually the first, because what you listed should be the second and the third thing. The first thing should be that Amal should roll her hit points for...
Yeah, no, I was literally just looking up what they are, what I have to do.
Yeah, I was waiting on that.
Click your hit die.
Yeah, just click the word hit dice on your character sheet.
Yeah.
Oh, is that it? I thought I had to do a thing. Okay, no, yes. It's been so long.
I know.
So just roll this. So just click hit dice and it will roll me.
Click hit dice and it'll roll everything as it should.
I'm like super confused all the time with fifth edition, because like leveling up is so easy.
Yeah, exactly.
Like in third edition, it took like hours to level up your character.
Oh, 2 things this level. Yeah.
Took
That's
everything.
easy.
Okay,
so I'm adding 6 to my total?
6, so that means that we're looking at 45 out of 45 now.
What?
Oh, you have the same amount of hit points as me.
I got 45 too.
Hey, what a good
45 gang! Woo!
And for Stone, just roll a d20 plus his Constitution modifier.
Also, sorry?
No, not a d20.
I was going to say, what?
Wow.
Stone, 60 hit points. Like,
yeah, no kidding. Hey, I mean, it would fit.
Stone points are like 4 times my level, right?
Right.
So, I think so. He goes up to 20 from 16. I think.
No, he was at 20. He's at 24.
24 now.
Right, math. Yes, exactly.
That's okay. I'm stunned that I beat you to that.
So 24.
24. Okay. Inga, you are at. Have you rolled yours yet? Did you say?
Yeah, I
5?
did. 45.
So you are 45 out of 45. Oh my God, it really is. Everyone's 45, except for Tawny. What did you roll, Tawny?
41.
It's 41. Okay. All right. Okay. Your scholar
like the
is
big
not
beefy
quite
guy in the party at TS.
How does somebody else have to change the hit points for Stone? I don't know how.
I probably can.
Oh no, wait. Maybe I can do it like this. Hold on.
I think I can probably do it.
Yeah, no, it's in his character sheet. Yeah, you got it.
I think I just did it.
Great.
See if it is. Is it right for you?
Yep.
Okay.
24.
24. The other question is does no? So his armor class doesn't change because that's natural armor. Nothing else changes for him, right?
Just itself.
That is right. I believe that's correct, because a lot of it's keyed off of you one way or the other, but yeah, I think so.
The only other thing that you would need to do is figure out what your 6th level skill that you gain is.
Oh, it was very simple. It is distraction, because it's the only option I have. I don't think I had options.
Yeah.
So distraction, which I will read off of my sheet. If I can actually, go there? Oh, there we go. Yes, distraction. At 6th level, you can use your sharp wit and knowledge of the terrain to distract, confuse, and otherwise sap the confidence and competence of others. When a creature that you can see within 60 feet of you makes an attack roll, an ability check, or a damage roll, you can use your reaction to expend one of your uses of Warden's Gift, rolling a gift die and subtracting the number rolled from the creature's roll. You can choose to use this feature after the creature makes its roll, but before the lore master determines whether the attack roll or ability check succeeds or fail, or before the creature deals its damage. The creature is immune if it cannot hear you, or if it is immune to being charmed.
I love, by the way, I love the after the roll but before the result thing, because it gives you some information but not too much information. And I also love the fact that it all keys off of using Warden's Gift for different things. So,
I wish, knowing that, it's funny because Warden's Gift die are keyed off of the charisma bonus, which actually is not her highest stat, it's, so that is funny to me, that she definitely, anyway, it's I'm always only gonna have these two dice.
No, because when you get to 8th level, you will be able to increase one ability score of your choice by 2.
Oh, is it 8th level? I thought it was higher.
Nope. Again, you reach 4th level, and then again at 8th, 12th, 16th, and 19th. So at 8th level, and you'll be able to, actually, you'll have 3 choices there. You'll be able to increase one of your ability choice by 2, or 2 ability scores by 1, or you'll be able to take a cultural or open virtue. And those virtues are pretty awesome. So it'll be serious decision-making time at 8th level. But you're still a couple levels away from that. But yes, so it isn't always going to stay there. You'll be able to get more bonuses to that. Then.
So for that description, I think the TLDR for that is a goblin, squirrel.
Yeah.
I was wondering about that with the terrain, just look at the hills. Hills?
I can totally imagine River going oh wow, the mountains, look at the mountains, they're so beautiful. And it's
goblins are awesome stuff. All right, so let me and I will. So we have your level up stuff. I will come back to that. So Tani, tell us about your level up, anything cool that you got, and then secondly, please tell us about your armor.
I came up to level 6 like all of the rest of us, and I gained an ability called Shadow of the Past.
What?
Which says at 6th level, you find deeper meaning in the long history of Middle-earth. If you remind another player hero of a relevant tale of the history of their people,
it was a dream.
It was a dream. Then that character gains 1 scholarly inspiration die, a D6, which they may use to add to any roll. Once you've used this feature, you cannot use it again for a long rest.
So cool. Oh God, do I love this system. Yes, it's so great. And it works perfectly with this because it's exactly right in line with what you're doing right now in terms of looking at the past. That's badass. Okay.
Sure glad Will reminded you that we're leveling up.
I really am. Because he said it and I looked at it, I'm like level 5, and my level 5 I was like, that feels a little low, and then I went, I'm like, oh, it is a little low. They should be a level higher. But only just. I mean, actually it didn't affect anything, but I'm glad that we know this before you, because this little journey you're about to go on is going to be interesting.
Well, it has also increased our hit dice, right?
Indeed. Well, no, exactly. I mean, all kinds of things, yes. So cool. And Tani, what was the armor that you gained that you chose?
The armor which I gained is, it has 3, because we got to get 3 different features added to them. Ancient Close Fitting, which gives me a +2 to AC, and once per long or short rest, if an enemy hits me with less than a 4 advantage over my AC, they beat me by less than 4, I can basically say no, and the hit doesn't hit, which is okay. Ancient Cunning Make adds another 1 point to my AC for a total of 3.
Yep.
+3 to my AC. The weight is a quarter of normal. It doesn't matter because it's leather. Strength requirements are weighed. Doesn't matter. User does not suffer disadvantage on stealth checks. Also doesn't matter because it doesn't apply to me. But the part that I love the most, I am immune to critical hits.
Yeah.
What?
Oh.
Yep. You into critical
I
hits, yeah.
love it. Every time you're gonna be like natural 20, I'm gonna be like, no.
Yep.
You still hit, but it's not a crit. It's never
Legendary armor, man. There's a reason you got this at the end of of this particular campaign.
Yeah.
So yeah, good stuff.
And finally, dwarf friend runes. This is why I'm a voice actor. See, it declares the wearer to be a friend to dwarves, which will help in interactions with them and will cause them to try to help the bearer, me, when reasonable and appropriate. With the exception of Inga, because she has her own free will, as some guy told us the last time when we were playing.
Yep. And I'm just noting some of the D&D folks in chat are just kind of like OP, amazing, and all this stuff, and it's true. And in fairness, this is definitely a low loot campaign. There's not a ton of loot there, so there's a reason. Thank you very much. Holy cow! Not only do you raid, but you sub to the channel. Thank you for the sub, D20. I appreciate it. Welcome, welcome. Enjoy the emotes. Thank you so much. I will have to follow in good turn after the stream is over. Oh, I see. Echo gave him a sub. That's why. Well, thank you, Echo. I do not take back the thanks to D20 for raiding, but thank you, Echo, for the gift. That's very nice of you. So there you go, D20. You can enjoy the emotes and sub badges and all that good stuff from Echo Alpha. Thank you, Echo.
I just saw Coven Guy saying distraction, pull out your cat on Arv's stream 100%.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
That totally works.
they're hiding somewhere else, but
It totally works. And I'll say right now, if anyone, for me, I mean, I like cats fine, and you know, I love dogs, but I have to say, if particular kinds, like if, for example, a beagle were to show up, or anything that looked like my bull terrier mix that I used to have, my poor sweet Lilo, who passed away some years ago, that would immediately distract and probably create instantaneous advantages of all sorts. I don't know what, but anyway.
To self get a beagle.
Yeah. My first dog when I was 8 years old was a beagle named Trilby, which means little ball of fluff, and she was the sweetest, the dumbest, but the sweetest dog. And yeah, she was really, really sweet. And I've had 3 wonderful dogs, Trilby, Maggie, and Lilo, but they were all great dogs, and I miss them, and my wife is allergic and all that. So anyway, but yeah. So
that armor is named the Mountain's Hide.
The Mountain's Hide. I love it. So people will try to cut down a mountain. So that's going to be great. That's why whenever they try to hit you critically, you're like, Mountain's Hide. Okay. Mountain's Hide. So that's the deal with that. And now D20 gives the tier 1 sub to someone else. Now this I love. I love these trains. This can continue for a while. Thank you very much, D20, for gifting a tier 1 sub to Ninth Pawn. That's very nice of you. Paying forward the gift they got from Echo Alpha to Ninth Pawn. That's pretty sweet.
Ninth Pawn, that's good. I like that.
Thank you very much. All right. So good stuff. So the Mountain's High, very exciting. And I think that was all that you got from the legendary stuff. I mean, that was enough, frankly. That's pretty good. Okay. So very good stuff. Thank you, Tani. Also, thank you for the host shot.
Gandalf said that in Lord of the Rings. Smote his ruin on the mountain's high.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. Oh,
sort
man, this is the best. I just started reading Fellowship to my daughter last night, so I am excited. She's very nervous about what the ring was doing to Bilbo. She's just very much like, I don't know, Daddy. Like, is this gonna be okay? And I'm like, like, it will. Things will sort of. Some of them.
It'll end up well.
Yeah, mostly. Good night, Sod. Sleep well, man. Thank you, dude. All right, moving right on down the line, that leads us, of course, to Will, to Robar specifically. So, Robar, would you like to tell us, A, about your level up stuff, and then B, about your weaponry? And for those of you who just came in, I promise we're also adventuring, but they just got all this stuff, and so they're pretty excited.
Yeah, it's fun stuff. Okay, so I got more hit points, and I have 45 hit points. Okay. Boom. So I've been running pretty good on those hit dice for levels up recently. I also, I now, whenever I'm adventuring in the wilderness, I have advantage on all of my attacks for the first round of combat, which is pretty nice.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, because I'm just I'm wandering everywhere these days. And speaking of which, I also get to add 4 new areas, which I am sort of like specialized in the wilds. So I've chosen a couple of those. I can also hold them until I've adventured in them with your permission, Arv. So I feel like maybe I will choose 3 and then save the waste until we've done some exploring around in there, and then maybe after we've done the whole waste stuff, I can become specialized in that once our adventure is finished there.
Yes, I think that makes some sense because it fits more narratively. Also, I just wanted to quickly say, I sorry keep interrupting, but this keeps happening.
No.
Arudinel with the gift, a sub to Okayest Healer. That's a great name, Okayest Healer. But
okay.
Thank you, Arudinel, for the gift. Thank you so much, everybody. This is like an unexpected sub train in the middle of the day. Thank you so much.
Oh yeah, hype trainers. There you go.
So it's good stuff. So sorry about that. So so you want to basically hold on to it until you do. Yeah, I think that makes sense. Now be aware, the waste and the withered heath, as I said, are both, as I'll describe, not pleasant places. But in a way, I think it fits that you would be sort of learning from that as you go through narratively. But be aware that no, that works.
And then, so that's the 2 things I get for leveling up. And then I have called my armor River Guard, both because...
Really?
Yes.
River Guard.
Because it works on a number of levels. It guards me from drowning in rivers.
No, not also, the River Guard. It's River Guard.
Well, it works in a couple of ways, because when in our last battle, we were by a river, and the river was over her body, I think, and trying to protect everyone. So, and then I went down. But yeah. So that's what it's called. Because it's light as well. It will save me from water drowning.
I love the idea that armor can save you from drowning.
That's
by not getting in it.
I'm imagining it's like one of those rescue vests.
It's just
it's the water wings for kids, right? Like
little floats on. Yeah.
Riding into battle with a pool noodle.
For those of you who don't know what this is about, so one of the big themes in this campaign has been that for whatever reason, Robar, who is a Dunedain, let's be clear, does not seem to handle water well, and so has repeatedly fallen into the Anduin or other rivers that he crosses, and so basically Anduin's bane or something like that, and that's why they call themselves the Anduinauts somewhat, because they had to cross the river. So
it's also just funny because we have had to cross the Anduin
a bunch
of times. And also, for added bonus, I, not knowing that was going to be the general direction of the campaign and stuff, named my character the River, which means every time we are crossing a river, there's about 5 minutes worth of jokes. The same joke, to be clear, over and over. And then, Robar falls into the river, drowns in. Anyways, it's the whole thing. River Guard.
Huzzah!
Beautifully done.
So now I have better AC. So Robar's had a nice little bump up in power here.
It's good stuff. And so River Guard, and of course the leveling up, which fortunately Will reminded me of. So all good stuff. All right, moving right on down the line. Inga, tell everyone what new amazing powers you've gained in your level up, please, and then about your new weaponry descriptions, etc.
Well, since Inga is the same class as Robar, they get the same things, except for that Inga's wisdom is crap, so she only gets 1 new known land. So, and I chose the East Anduin Vales because we traveled through there a billion times by now.
Okay.
So that, or what's it, the East Middle? No, East Anduin Vales, that's what I chose.
Okay.
Made the most sense.
Absolutely. Okay.
Yeah.
And also you went up to the 45 hit points.
Yes,
so you got
45
that.
hit points.
Okay. And what about the new weapons that you've received?
I did a screw up as we figured out way in the beginning of the stream. Because last time I'm really bad at doing stuff like this on the fly, so I was let me do that in between streams, and then I completely forgot to take care of that. And so I didn't choose anything yet. Though, I think I know I want an axe, I need to figure out the abilities.
This is where we need you to also weigh in, because like I told Tari the things that you told me that I could put on River's axes, but I think that she got extra bonus stuff for being a dwarf.
Yes. So what? So yeah. So
I have written down Flame of Hope, Gleam of Terror, Runes of Victory, Fell, Grievous, and Keen. Was there anything else?
Let me just double check and see if there was anything else that was there. Okay. Okay. So the other thing, which I think Runes of Victory. So what were I'm sorry. What? Say them again.
Flame of Hope.
Yep.
Gleam of Terror.
Yep.
Runes of Victory.
Yep.
Fell, Grievous, and Keen.
Yes. Yes, there was one. Oh, because these were all right. Okay. So, because these were, yeah, actually, no, I didn't give you anything else for this. These were all weapons. There was something additional if you wanted to do armor instead. That would be specific to that. That's what I'm thinking of. But the weaponry, that's what you would have.
Yeah. Okay. And how many do I get to pick from that?
3.
3. Okay. Then I'm gonna take Runes of Victory. Keen.
Figured that too.
Wait, I should make sure that I don't pick all the same things that Amal picked. What did you choose?
Flame of Hope, Gleam of Terror, and Runes of Victory.
Okay.
But wait, do you get different stuff than the things
No,
that
get the same things.
Did any of those, can you remind me, did any of those rely on a wisdom bonus? Because I wrote down what the consequence was for me, like like when you, for Gleam of Terror, you force up to a certain number of creatures to make a wisdom.
Based on, that one is based on up to your wisdom modifier. So right. The Gleam, yeah, that's the one example.
Yeah, I'm not taking that one.
That doesn't make sense for you.
Yeah. Yep.
No.
Yep.
Okay, yeah.
No, I think I'm gonna go with oh, this is difficult.
I think you should do Runes of Victory, Fell, and Keen. Because then your crit range is from 18 and up. And,
yeah.
And I mean, you deal so much damage on attack rolls, and you're already attacking twice a turn, right?
Yeah.
D20, I like the idea of Wounds of Victory. It's like, we won!
Wait, is Fell +2 to the attack roll?
Yes.
Fell's attack roll. Keen is 1 to the range on which it can score. So actually, I don't think it's 18-20. I think it's 19 and 20.
No, it's plus Runes of Victory. If you stack that with Runes of Victory, which gives you a critical on 19, then...
you know what? So let me rephrase that a bit, because when I read you the Runes of Victory, I think I altered this slightly. So when you're bearing a weapon with Runes of Victory, you get a +1 bonus to all saving throws. I think you know that part.
Yeah.
But then when you attack with the weapon, a roll of 1 becomes a critical hit instead of an automatic failure. So what that means is that if you combine it with Keen, it means that you would get a critical hit on a 1 or a 19 or a 20. But not 18, 19, 20. Follow?
Oh,
okay.
I'm sorry, I totally missed that.
I think I may have mislisted it myself, but yeah.
So sorry. So Runes of Victory is critical on 20 and on 1.
And 19. Oh, well, sorry. Runes of Victory is 1 and 20. If you match it with Keen, it's 1, 19, and 20.
19 and 20.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay, never mind. Okay. That's fantastic.
I'll tell you why it's fantastic too, because every time you roll the 1, you're like, oh, wait, no, like, right? It's one of those things, like, yeah.
Yeah, no, I think I want Flame of Hope as my third thing, because I shouldn't be too one note with my with the things I can do, and like Flame of Victory seems like a neat additional thing I can do. Okay. Also, being able to heal sounds like a good thing. So yeah, I'm gonna go with that. And what is she gonna call it?
Sorry. So Flame of Hope, and then what other 2?
Flame of Hope, Runes of Victory, and Keen.
Got it.
Oh, okay. Keen, not Fell. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, not fell, but keen. All right, what are you calling this amazing weapon?
Yeah, like the good thing is that Inge is even worse than I when it comes to coming up with names. So a dumb name, an uncreative name will be perfectly in character. So
Can I give it a name?
Yes, please. Actually, Inge would probably actually ask River.
So what I imagine is, as the dwarves are, engraving these runes on it, and the process is brilliant and kind of glowing and everything like that, and the weapons are becoming imbued and endowed with all of this power. River just looks at it and says, "I think you should call it Bright Edge."
Bright Edge?
Yes, it looks like it's going to. It will flame with hope at some point in battle, and your edges are always going to be so sharp that light itself will be cut on it. And I think Bright Edge works. I don't know what it would sound like in Dwarven, but
Bright Edge, you say? Yeah, I like it. Sure.
I just have this image of you cutting the light around you and someone being
like
ah!
I'm just thinking of like a scene from that one Discworld book where I don't know the English title of, where Des sharpens his scythe on air, and he starts to cut the air molecules into pieces. It's just that's what I'm thinking of right now. Just with
so Bright Edge. If you're good with that, then that's fine with
Bright
me.
Edge.
Okay.
And it is a long axe, like her last weapon.
Yes, Arudnal, if she cuts the sunlight, it will leave a black hole, and we will immediately transition into the Disney movie Black Hole universe. Maximilian, etc.
Since I had an Elvish dictionary open, obviously, like, Inga's not going to be naming her weapon by, like, Elven names and stuff.
No.
But that will either be I forget how Elven syntax goes, so I forget the order of these particular words. It will either be Gall-lank or Lankgall in
Lankgall.
In Sindarin.
Nice.
Nerd.
Which the Lankgall, which the goblins would call like rough cutter, or like something that they come up with, you know, like biter and beater.
The goblins will call it
God, you cut the torch. So good stuff. Awesome. And all right, that brings us down finally. Actually, you gave us your level up already, Amal. So we just need the name of and what they do, your axes.
So River has 2 axes that she dual wields in battle, and she, because she has been throughout this journey with her friends, like encountering elves, and her girlfriend is an elf, and her and she's just been very moved by all things that are kind of joinings of elven and human things, and is also for just collaboration between peoples. She has given hers both an elven and common name. So in Elven, it is Lindkrist, and in common, she's calling them Cleave Song.
Cleave Song.
Close.
Wow.
So close.
So close. What?
I was trying to think of what would I call them.
Yeah. Oh, really?
And ultimately, I was going to go with Twain Cleft.
Twain Cleft. So the idea is like I wanted to go. That sounds. Twain Clefts feels a little, how can I put it, provocative, but
you're the one talking about your elven girlfriend, you know.
I know, it's fair. No, specifically, she wanted cleave because of the dual meaning of the word, because cleave is one of those words that means
cleave
one
to
thing and its opposite.
Right.
So you cut things apart, but to cleave to someone also means to come together.
Yep, true.
So, and her axes are both going to summon, like, you are going to bring the party closer together, hopefully with, Flame of Hope, but also cleave goblins in twain whenever they fight.
And I realize I actually misspoke. not Twain Cleft. Twain Clef.
Twain Clef. Oh.
Oh, the music.
Oh, I
Oh, nice.
I love that.
Wow.
Twain Clef. Oh, that's really great. I was also debating whether she should name like one axe one thing and the other axe another
That's
thing.
what I was gonna say. Treble and mass, or treble and bass.
What,
Yeah,
what is it in
Treble
Do the
and
Right Thing, Peace and Love? Like the
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right. But and in which, because again, I've just been like deep diving into this Elven dictionary and stuff,
Yeah.
and I like the idea of them being called like, I don't know, one thing an echo, or I don't know, sound and fury,
or call an echo.
call and echo, call and response.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I don't know. I'll think about whether they have. They will as they distinguish themselves in battle. Maybe they will develop more distinctive personalities.
Okay.
Maybe once she can actually land her attacks separately instead of always putting.
What do
We'll
they
have
do?
that.
What do they do, by the way? These axes.
So they. So Flame of Hope is the same thing that Ina
Okay.
had.
Right. Yep.
Gleam of Terror, which forces up to 3 creatures to have to make a wisdom saving throw or else be frightened. And Runes of Victory.
Runes of Victory, awesome. So good stuff. That is good stuff, and we are, I think, just about ready to go. Except just to close off the last bit of this, all of this that you see is happening during the 2 weeks, and it does take 2 weeks. For Tani to work through with Munin as they're poring over these documents and library details, and I'll describe that in a minute. But just for the folks that are down in the forge while this is happening, I do want you all to think a little bit about, just because I get to make this reference again, The Mandalorian. The sort of clanking away, the armorer sort of, hammering away at this stuff and forging this stuff. And I have to say, for all 3 of you, Robar, Inga, and the River, this is enormously impressive, because I don't think either River, certainly, and probably not even Robar, would have seen a dwarven forge in action. In fact, usually dwarves do not allow those who are not dwarves to watch the making of their weapons and armor, but you were given special dispensation to watch it. And the thing that strikes you is not just the heat and the sort of the smell of sulfur, the smell of the sort of sense of ash that kind of spreads over the area right around the forge, but just the precision. It's like you look away and then you look back and you're like, oh, and more of it has been kind of shaped and placed together. The other thing, Inga, for you, of course, is that this also has a dimension of, as you're kind of watching this stuff being forged, you remember hearing, of course, the ringing of the sound of the forge in various places that you visited when you were younger, and sort of seeing that, because you kind of get the impression, they don't tell anyone this exactly, but you kind of get the impression that the dwarves sort of allow you to be a little closer to the forge than your companions. Like, you get to, be almost not quite over their shoulder, but kind of get to watch them making the stuff. And they actually ask you as well for some of your craftsmanship skills in terms of stone crafting and woodworking and stuff like that. They ask you for certain little things to work on, which I won't make you do it, but I'm guessing you're okay with doing it.
Oh, absolutely.
And so you get a chance to kind of see that being processed, and it's a kind of, it feels almost a little bit like a religious experience, I would say, for you. Because of what is at the weight of the power of the dwarves who endure like the mountains which are their home. And as you're sort of watching this take place, in the meantime, Tani is upstairs in the archives. Now, Tani, you have spent much of your time, of course, outside in nature, and your experience as a scholar has been books that you might have brought back to your home and, little places like that. Bjorn, who's not much for books, does have a couple of places where he has a few books that have been given to him. They're kind of like gifts that he's like, okay, thanks, and then he puts them in this room.
Over here?
Yeah, exactly. So, you spend a little bit of time in that, but this just absolutely dwarfs, if you'll pardon the expression, Inga. This absolutely dwarfs all other stuff that you've ever seen. I'm deeply offended. You're canceled.
That's our word.
But you were just like overwhelmed by the sort of the shelves, the amount of scrolls, the books. You don't even know where you would begin. And fortunately, Munin, who seems to have his own card catalog system, which is known as his head, is able to be like, this is where you would find this is where you'd find this. And as you're looking through these things, one of the things you realize is that this is really driven by, it is an oral kind of history as much as anything else. These are all written records, but as Munin explains to you, part of why they keep things this way is because if the dwarves were ever to be overrun, or this area of the dwarves were to be overrun, even if evil lore masters tried to go through this, it would be trying to figure out trying to figure out words without an alphabet, right? Figure out letters without a key. He is able to give you that knowledge and give other dwarves that are sort of working with him that knowledge, and so it is all kept within them, and sort of the access to that is available ultimately through them. And so you work through these various kind of books and scrolls and things like that. And remember, you're trying to find the location of the watchtower. So what I want to ask before I have you do this check is there anything, obviously you're looking for watchtowers, but is there any kind of particular concentration that you're aiming for? Like, not just regions, but like descriptions? Are you looking for particular, descriptive elements? What are you trying to look for as you're helping Munin with this, tracking down this watchtower?
Probably cross-referencing a couple of different things. If the records exist, large shipments of stone or craftsmen to the heath, tools and whatnot, either them being shipped out or records of them coming back, and reports of whatever food and whatnot being sent out to given location to some project in work on the heath.
Okay.
So that probably it would probably be a record of, at least once the tower was completed, what it would have been named, and whether that would have come from the Dwarven Council, or whether the king at the time had named it, whoever had been responsible for naming the tower, and whether or not they had gone out to view the work once it was finished. Any records, reports on attacks on the tower by dragons, since that's what it was there for, was to watch for them. So probably a cross-reference of those things.
Okay. In that case, I'm going to have you make for me, please, a intelligence lore check. I will have you add +2 to that check based on what you've just described, and then if you have other things you want to use one way or the other, you can do that. If you have any other specific things you want to use, or if chat would like to inspire said person, you could also do that too. So it is up to you.
I'm hesitant to pull or to request an inspiration for this so early in this new campaign.
Yeah, up to you.
Let's see what happens on its own.
Okay.
I'm trying to remembering. The last time we played was still January, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, so I've got inspiration again.
You do.
Okay.
And I reset it, so you should. It is in chat available for you. Yes.
Right.
All right. So all or nothing. Here we go. So I already have a +3. So +2. This will be 16. Add 2 to that. So 18.
18. Okay. So as you're looking, it takes for about a week, Tani. You start to despair because you just everything starts to blur together. You had no idea how many watchtowers and things the dwarves built, the number of towers in different places and all that. But you finally begin to gather information about stuff which was particularly designed to look after the affairs of dragons, and which had, as you had been looking for, a lot of construction being made. And you find eventually details in a volume volume about the construction of dwarven roads. And at first you just are like, well, this is not about watchtowers, but then you see that the roads actually led to various places, including one place which was particularly isolated and small. It was dug into the tip of a mountain peak, and while you do not have the name of the watchtower, you do have the name of the mountain peak. It is called Zirakinbar, which is Zirakinbar, Zirakinbar. And it is an isolated, when you tell Munin this, when you like call him over, he immediately knows what that is. It is an isolated horn of rock which rises about 80 miles north of Erebor in the southeastern arm of the Grey Mountains. And in fact, I will bring us over to a new map to reveal this, which is, you can actually see it there, Zirakinbar. And it is, as I say, about 80 miles north. And so, you know, part of you is like, awesome. And then the other part of you, your heart sinks because you realize to get to Zirakinbar, you are going to have to go not only into and over the waste, but then into the Withered Heath, which is a dark and shadowed land. And I'll explain the details of that mechanically when we get there. And it's up in the Grey Mountains. Now, if any of you remember out of game your description of The Hobbit, you'll remember there is a moment where Bilbo asks Gandalf if he can go around Mirkwood to the north. And he says, well, yes, if you go around to the north, you'll find yourself among the foothills of the Grey Mountains, which is simply stiff with orcs, goblins, and hobgoblins of the worst description. So the Grey Mountains are not a pleasant place, and this is exactly where you have to go. In fact, it's set on, as I say, into the peak, almost like just, you know, like it's the tower rises above, but its foundations are literally built out of the mountain itself.
Where's the worst possible place we could build this thing?
Well, yeah, for you, but it's actually very defensible, or at least it was back in the ancient days. Unfortunately,
like dragons can fly.
I was just going to say, unfortunately, it was also isolated, and that may have led to some sense of ruin. But in any case, you find this now, and so now you have a place to go. And when Munin gives you, after looking this up and congratulates you on your scholarly ability, he gives you the book. As you know, Dane had said you could bring it with you. And he says, I hope you will find this of use, and I would ask you, my friend, to be careful in perusing it. My experience has been that many of these things are wearying to read, and yet they can provide great insight. You might wish to try looking and reading the book as you go. Gather information if you may about this tower, but be aware that you will also, in doing so, tire your body, which will need its strength. I suppose this is where they say balance is a good thing, but as it were for me, I would prefer to lose myself in a book and the body be damned. And he kind of chuckles a little bit.
While we are...
Too relatable.
While we are on the road, I do have one recommendation for you.
And he nods.
I believe we mentioned this before, about a week ago. But not that. I would, however, recommend that you start making newer copies of these books. These are beginning to become a little bit weary of years, so perhaps making fresher copies, especially if you're going to allow anyone to take them out, would probably be wise.
He nods and he says, indeed, we have already talked of some of this that you speak, and we are planning to make those copies. But part of what we did in the first years after Smaug's defeat was to render our fortress here defensible. Now, knowledge must be defended as well. I will pass along your words to Dane, though I should say that the king does you a great favor by allowing this book to leave the archives.
Oh, that is not denied.
And he's sort of taking the book, he's saying this while he still has his hands on the book. You know,
he's not quite
he's doing a great, he's like, and he's like, as he takes his book, and he says,
I'm stifling raucous laughter just because I love that essentially what's happening here is a conversation about the allocation of grant funds. we just can't seem to get the grants because it's all going to the sciences and engineering, and
then Bard wants details of data and usage, and I don't know. Yeah, exactly. It's always the poor libraries. But yes, so he says, though, as he gives you, despite that kind of shudder at giving away this book, he says, I do ask that you take care of this, and after working with you for the last 10 days, I think you are the kind of person who understands the value of this knowledge. It is true that we must spend our time now in the present and future, but we are nothing without our past, and I hope you will remember that and use it to help others as you go.
Sorry, what? Kidding.
God damn it. Okay. Having done all of that, at the end of this fortnight, I'm going to put us out then. Everyone has gathered their weapons, their armor together. And
Wait.
Yes, I'm not. You're not leaving at this instant, but what's up?
So, I was kind of like expect there was gonna be like this big reunion about Inga returning home and like meeting her family again and stuff. No.
Well, that can also, if you wish, that can also be something which would happen during the 2 weeks. I wasn't trying to keep that from happening. You could certainly do that during that 2 weeks. I didn't know if you wanted to do that or if you, yes, you could, of course. I wasn't trying to avoid that. So you could do that, sure.
Introduce them to your incredibly tall fiance, Robar.
I was like waiting. Okay, but which in the party are you referring to right now? Everybody.
Could have been any of us.
Never, spoken for, even though her relationship is long distance. But yes.
But yeah, like because like Inga would be staying with her family, and
okay,
like, she would
so
like
then
offer like the rest of the gang to also stay with her family if they don't want to stay at an inn.
Absolutely.
I'd love to.
Or like whatever rooms would be provided.
And let the party and the folks know who in your family you were expecting to see. Like for those of you who don't know Inga's history.
Okay, so like before we started this whole game, I did some research on like dwarven family structures and stuff like that. So basically, every family, like it's like always extended family living together. It's like not just the parents and the siblings, but it's also like the grandparents, and I guess since dwarves live for so long, also grandparents and stuff like that. And then aunt, uncles, blah blah blah. That's usually, it's a clan living together, and they are usually like. If I remember correctly, like organized in like their houses, which are caves in this case, I guess. Let's call them houses to make things easy. Are like huge, and like I'm assuming since the Erebor was abandoned for so long, and since so many dwarves died, who originally lived there and stuff like that, that actually there was like a lot of free real estate to be had when people started to move back in. So I'm assuming that her family's house would be like kind of big, like just like as would be for most families there. So, but yeah, so like her parents, and I didn't write out any other family members, so she doesn't have any siblings or anything.
Okay, I wanted folks to, and that's good because I didn't have that in my notes either. It's like I hope there are no siblings because I don't see any.
No.
So yes, when you go there, do you bring the party with? Because what we could do is we could have this happening where all four of you are together. Yeah,
I'm like imagining after the audience with Dine.
Okay, and before the armory stuff, basically. Yeah,
that like it would be like, yeah, okay, we're kind of traveling for a while. Let's go rest up and then meet up meet up with like the officials again in the morning.
Okay. So then you, after asking around a little bit just to confirm, you were able to find your family home. And indeed, when you go through these passageways, and each I mentioned before when you were first entering Erebor that you were the one telling people, oh, this was this thing and like this is that thing, and like you were basically tour guide, right? So
yeah, because like Inga also helped on like the renovating the place.
So you knew all of that sort of intimately.
Yeah.
And when you're going through back to this home and you're pointing out the various, tunnels again, as you get closer and closer to the home, of course.
Oh.
Yes.
Also, one thing, sure. I'd like to think that she actually gets lost on the way to her house because she only lived there for a few months.
Okay.
And then left again. So
okay.
Since it's like so complicated, like she hasn't lived in the Erebor for a long time.
Sure. I was going to assume that she would have I would. All right, good. As long as you're telling me that,
can imagine that after like, roughly an hour of wandering in the halls, River kind of like says to Inga, Are you leading us in circles so that we don't remember how to get there?
Yeah, are we going anywhere? I forgot where we're going.
You can just blindfold us if you don't want us to know the way. We could just, we're very hard.
Shush.
I immediately draw out 4 blindfolds. I just have these on.
No, it's been a while since I've been home, and also I have never lived here for a long time. Like, I know I'm not sure if I've ever mentioned this, but I actually used to live at the Iron Hills before Erebor was reconquered. So, like, just shut up and follow me.
So, you do, after wandering a bit more, you begin to find some areas which are a little bit maybe more familiar, and do you eventually break down and ask a couple of dwarves for directions or not? Do you do one of those classic, I don't need directions, like...
No, or she actually does recognize something. Like, basically, I like to imagine that, like, at some point they take a corner, she's like, oh, this is where we are.
Yeah, okay.
And then it's like, yeah.
So when you you go through you go through the area, and you kind of go through the hallways, and eventually, after making your way around and through, indeed you find something which does seem more familiar. And you remember that one of the things that is notable about this place was that there was a rather small passageway, even by dwarven standards, because of some of the vagary, some of the unusual nature of the way that the mountain happened to just be shaped at that point, that you sort of, but in a way I think you had always kind of liked it, because it was, sort of your own distinctive place that led to the home, and once you got through this. But it means that for Robar and the river, and in particular for Tani, it is very close quarters. Like, you have to, like, the dwarves never have any problem, because fortunately dwarves never build anything, in quotes, dwarf sized when it comes to their caverns. Like, everything is very big and spacious, but this particular thing is much smaller. And so when you get to that one little passageway that leads through, for a while, Tani, you're just kind of like, feeling the weight of thousands of tons of rock above you, etc., right? As you go through, and then Inga brings you out, and you emerge into this cavern. And the thing that surprises you about it, the cavern is there, and then built from the solid stone below. And there are little wood kind of fixings here and there around the windows and the doors, but most of the sort of structure is built out of the stone of the floor. And what strikes you is those of you who are not Inga, is the solidity of it, the stability of it, the fact that, unlike Inga's own life now, which has been one of wandering, this feels as if it just kind of grew almost organically out of the mountain floor, so well as it crafted. And when you get out of the cavern, you can actually see, Inga, 2 things. You see kneeling down in front of the door, working on 2 stone steps. There is a dwarf with their back to you who is chiseling kind of gently on the 2 stairs in front. And so they don't hear you, so just this ding, 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 ding.
Do I recognize this dwarf?
If you had to guess, this is probably the person who taught you much of your own stonecraft, your father. And he is, bent over and, kind of, like I say, quiet. He always, your memory is that he always did this. He was always like, tinkering at this and with rock, obviously, but he was always doing stone and like working things around and putting in decorations. And I should also mention, by the way, that not only does the house look organically, beautiful, but also there are decorations of carvings that have been done out of the stone above and around the door frames and around the windows. And, you maybe get a little bit now of where Inga herself gets the love for these sorts of things, because this is extraordinary work, and looks like it must have taken decades to do anything like this, but this is the power of the dwarves, of course. So he is, you don't see any sign of your mother, Inga, but this, he is there kneeling and ding, 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 ding.
So he doesn't notice us walking up?
No.
Okay, so we just stop behind him, I guess, and he goes, hi, Dad.
And so when you say hi, Dad, he goes dink and kind of like, misses a little bit, and he turns around, kind of looks over his shoulder, and then and now the rest of you see he looks very much like he's very old and wizened, even for a dwarf, with a very long white beard, but the white beard is well groomed and trimmed and like tucked into the side of his belt in two plaits that basically go plaits that go to the left and right. So his beard is basically split almost into these two sections. And he kind of he sort of looks at you, and you can see that he has two like half moon glasses basically over his nose. And always, of course, these, as Inga well remembers, these deep twinkling blue eyes. And he sees you. He looks, obviously you haven't been away for decades and decades, but he looks sort of older and maybe even slightly haggard, possibly, to you, Inga, from before. And he stands up, and he's got just sort of his chisel in one hand, and he says, "It can't be, Inga, and he sort of, now he kind of staggers forward, clearly intending to hug you, although he's got the chisel sort of in one hand. So the question is, will you return the hug?
Oh, absolutely. Like, this is like a proper dwarf-sized bear hug.
Absolutely, yeah. So he embraces you, and you can hear him sniffle a bit, as if he might, and the chisel and that he was using almost sort of like bangs into his arm. He doesn't even notice because he's too busy sort of hugging you, and then he lets you go, and he says, "It's my child, you're a sight for sore eyes." Oh, what? And he sort of is looking at you, and then he notices for the first time the three of the rest of you are just in back, and he's like, "Oh,
Tony's like, all right."
Yeah, exactly. At this point, you're actually able to stand up pretty well, because
okay,
the cavern's pretty spacious once you got through that passageway. And
River is like sniffling and trying not to show it.
He says,
rock dust, right?
"Oh, your pardon, masters. It's been so long, or at least it feels that way. And he kind of bows low, and he says, and I just want to confirm, did you ever give me a name for him?
Yes,
Terry?
His name is Halfa.
Okay.
Oh wait, let me type that out.
Yeah, make sure you double check it, because I want to make sure I got the name right.
That's like one of the first things I wrote down.
Distraction.
That is his name. And it's
Enjoy
pronounced
your
Halfa.
pumpkin, buddy.
Because I only choose names that you guys can't pronounce because I'm evil.
So it's Halfir? Halfer.
Yeah,
Halfer,
it's
okay.
close enough.
Can you like spell
Just
it?
name him Hal. It's fine.
Halfer.
Halfer.
All right, sleep well, D20. Thank you so much again for the raid. Okay, so Halfer.
Yeah.
So he says, "My name is Halfer, and it's my pleasure to welcome you here. I'm sorry the house is a bit of a mess at the moment." Now, as you look up at the house, you're like, what? Because, I mean, it certainly doesn't look like a mess. But, whatever. So he sort of bows to each of you in turn, and he says, "I'd heard word that you might be coming back this way, but no one promised anything. And then there was all the business with the possible army and the invasion, and, well, I'd not been able to do anything else. And there's other things, too." And his eyes kind of flicker back to the house for a second, Inga. You don't know what that's about. And then they flicker back to you. And he says, "But anyway, I assume these are friends then, Inga. These have been your traveling companions, I suppose."
Yes, these are Robart, Tony, and River. And also Stone, obviously. Please do not use your chisel on him.
And he sort of immediately says, "I wouldn't think of it." And he sort of lowers himself. He's a little bit taller, slightly taller than Stone. So he kind of lowers himself that he's actually even below Stone a little bit. And he kind of reaches out a hand, and Stone comes over, and he pets him, and he says, "But what about Lilleman?" Did you bring her?
In the stables.
Okay. And he says, "Good. He was always a good one. hope he's taken care of you the way he should have.
Yeah.
And he stands up and he says, Masters, it's a pleasure. I can't thank you enough for, well, I'm sure she did her own bit of saving, but for keeping her safe. Her family, well, we miss her here, but we know what she's doing matters. And he kind of sniffles a bit. And again, Inga, you notice that your father was always one of these people that always, was busy doing work on Stone and so forth. Not Stone the dog, but Stone the stuff. Was always busy working on. This is Aval's fault for naming everything actual things. Like, hi, this is my friend Mountain and my sister Grass, and here's my brother Clouds. But anyway, hey Paxi, what's up? But he says, he was always, he was always doing stuff, but he always had this same, again, he was always stable, like the mountains and stones on which he worked. He always looked the same. He feels almost as if he's a little bent over and stooped, and his eyes look slightly sunken, Inga. It's like nothing specific, nothing obviously. Nobody else outside of your family probably would know, but he doesn't look quite right. And he sort of says, "Well, come in. You'll want to see us, of course." And he kind of walks up the stairs and opens the door to the home, which the door opens without a whisper, no sound of like stone on stone or wind, wood on stone, nothing, just like opens silently to reveal the house within. And he kind of bows slightly and gestures all of you to enter.
Thank you, sir.
Remember, we'll bow to him when he bows to her, and after he speaks, say that they're also all honored to be traveling with Inga, and say something, short but extremely heartfelt and to the point about how much she has looked after them all, and inspires them and stuff. And
Inga is visibly flustered and very uncomfortable.
And he so and
unconcerned.
Yeah, I mean, she's all right.
Which for Obar is like, she is the moon and the stars. Yeah. But Halfer is, smiles and he says, she's always been that way. Always responsible, always trying to help everyone else, and always doing so even if there was risk to her. She should tell you the time that I caught her trying to go through the rock slides on her own. That was one time. Both her mother and me didn't think that she'd make it out of that one.
Oh yeah, mother, where is she?
And he
she
hesitates
just,
and he says, he hesitates and he says, I think you'd want to see yourself maybe. And he brings you in and brings you to the living room, basically what is clearly the living room. There is this beautiful stone hearth, which is actually has a small fire in it, and at first you're not sure what that's about, and then you see that it's not wood fired, but it's some kind of coal, apparently, fired, and the smoke is going out. Now, you didn't see any smoke coming out of the ceiling of this house, but you think that there may have been basically like a natural, it looks almost like maybe it might be like a natural stone tube, like hole, basically, that kind of rises up through and maybe uses natural vents in the mountainside to kind of exhaust on that side, and shaped and kind of constructed, of course, by the dwarves as well. The home looks very much the way that you remember it as you left it, Ingo, with tables and chairs. Again, many decorations over the fireplace and the hearth, dwarvish runes that stand for home and peace and comfort. But you also note that there are a couple of dishes sort of on the table in what looks like it's the kitchen, what the others would assume is the kitchen. And that the house doesn't look, I mean, again, it's not really messy, but your folks were always known for keeping things very clean and orderly, and there's just there's like a mug out of place and a plate out of place, and it's not quite exactly right, again, from the way you remember it. And when he has all of you positioned and he brings over mugs of a thick, stout, dwarven ale, basically, if you wish it. Otherwise, he will also happily give you water, too, depending on what you prefer. And he says, Masters, I hope you'll allow me just a moment with my daughter. I'd like her to see someone, actually.
Why are you being so cryptic?
And he kind of waits. He doesn't answer you. He's looking at the others.
No, of course. We'll just we'll sit here and not talk about whatever it is you're being mysterious about.
And he sort of blinks and then nods and says, "Thank you," and turns and goes back to and asks you, says, "Coming," and goes to the stairs which lead upwards to the second floor.
Yeah, Inga goes.
When you
and complains on the way, like she looks very irritated.
Yeah. And when you get, so he, as you may remember, your father was always, your mother would kind of fire back at you in those moments, but your father was always like all right now, like he was always the peacemaker, and like, you get a lot of the fire in you from your mom. So, he's like, all right. But when he gets to the door and you've been kind of going on like, what's going on, blah, 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 he stops and he turns back to you, and you can see that his eyes are kind of wide. Now, your father only has, again, your father is very mild-mannered, right? But you knew growing up that when your father got a certain look, and it didn't happen much, everyone, including your mom and everyone else, was like, now I shut up. Because he didn't have to say anything, he would just give you the look. And so he's giving you the to jump out of game, what some of my students call the dad eyes that I occasionally have given them on certain occasions. He gives you basically that look, and he says, Inga, I want you to know that your mother's, she's missed you, and I just don't try to take it all in slow like, all right?
All right.
So
I'm really scared. I keep hovering because I'm doing tea assembling again, but I'm really scared and I'm hearing everything.
So he opens the door and you pass into their bedroom. Now, the bedroom of your parents was a place that you always, when you were little, do the classic, like, go in and, like, bounce up and down on their bed, and, like, would always, like you used to actually kind of sneak in, and you would, against rules, take out, like, a little chisel, and, yes?
There was no bedroom.
What do you mean?
They were traveling all the time?
I'm talking about I'm talking about when you, yeah, okay. Since you moved here, I guess I should have said since you moved here. All right, I take it back. Because you moved here only 3 months. That's true. You moved only a few months, so I take that back. But I guess the point is, you did some, like, even before you left, you would occasionally do, because you were always, because you learned from your father, were also chiseling on things and decorating things all the time. So you would do that even with the bed also. So, I shouldn't have said the age. That's not correct. When you were little, because when you were here, you weren't little. But you would still come in and do some decorations. But you remember that the bed, one of the reasons that they made the bed the way that they did was that they were happy to actually have a comfortable place, at least, to sort of stay and rest for a bit when they were constantly traveling and on the move during your childhood. And so this place was kind of a comfortable, place for them. But your mother, and remember, your father and mother both loved to travel, but as I said, your mother had the kind of fire for it. So, I mean, she was the one who really loved, she was always like, we can go another league, we could travel another couple of miles today, it's fine, that sort of thing. And yet when you go in, you see that your mother is lying on the bed underneath sheets, and she seems somewhat shrunken, somewhat quiet looking. She seems to be maybe asleep. She's not dead. She's there. She's alive, but she's
Thank God she's not
yeah.
dead.
I wanted to make sure she's not dead. She's asleep though. And you can see that her face looks kind of like your father's, haggard, but much more so, and almost as if she's sick. And so you can see that there is a chair sitting by the bedside. And so he, brings you over, and he says, All right. I think you could sit down here in this chair first. That's where I've been most of the time. Don't speak too loud, though. I'll wake her up slow.
I was just terrified.
Yeah.
And without a word, she sits down. Like, has these really wide eyes. It's just like, what's happening?
And so he goes around to the other side of the bed opposite you, and he leans down and whispers a couple of words in her ear. You can't really hear them. And her eyes kind of flicker open, and she looks over at you. Now, again, you may remember that your mother's temperament was such that she would have been like, Inga, it's a bit, like that sort of like very, vibrant, and, as I say, fiery personality. But here she just says, it's Inga's returned. Alfir, she's returned. And he nods. He says, yes, love. And she kind of looks over and she sits up slowly. And she sort of looks at you and then kind of reaches out her arms somewhat more feebly than you might expect to embrace you.
Mom, are you all right? What's wrong?
And she says, I'm fine, Inga. I'm a little tired, it's all. Here, come. Well, embrace me, don't just sit there.
Well, I mean, like, yeah.
So you embrace her. You are struck by the fact that she feels slightly frail and fragile. And so you sort of do that and then let her go again, or when you let her go. She kind of sits up and she says, it does a world of good. It's a world of good to see you, Inga, and that's a fact. You should have told me she was here. I would have gotten up and moved. And he says, no, you wouldn't have gotten up and moved. You know that you're supposed to stay here and rest for the moment. Now, I need to double check. Can you give name for her name again, Inga? I'm sorry.
Ida.
Ida, that's right. Oh, yeah, daughter of Ida. Yeah. Okay.
You're the daughter of Ida. I say that name at least once every session.
You have to remember that I literally am keeping track of 40 different character names in my head, not counting NPCs, so I apologize. So,
Inga, daughter of Gavin.
Yes. So, Ida, yes.
River is actually not witnessing this because it is like painfully and eerily similar to like her seeing her mom again.
Oh, right.
Like, can I just say that like no, we can't leave our moms anymore. Our moms
exactly.
like come on the adventures with us so that we can keep them fed.
That's true. Well, and yeah, in this case, there was, in the case of your mother, the River's mother was definitely, this was fatigue and worry. This looks to be more than that. This seems to be something, some kind of illness, or fever, and you can feel that she's a little warm too. Kind of like slightly feverish maybe, and as you kind of lean back, she says, so Palfier says this thing about Ida, you're not supposed to move around much now, you gotta rest. And she shakes her head and she says, I don't need anything more. As long as Inga's here, it's fine. I can get up and do things and perhaps get some food. There aren't more guests, are there? We should be. And she kind of half makes to get up, and Halfir puts out his hand and kind of says, no. They're downstairs, it's fine. I wanted Inga to see you first and have a chance to talk a little. And she kind of nods and says, hey, maybe that's best, yes. And she kind of looks at you and says, you look like you've even grown a bit. I can see. And she kind of rubs your face a little bit where there's a little bit of travel dirt still left over. And she says, and more of this. That's good. This looks like... And she takes a little bit of the dirt and kind of, and you realize that this is what she always used to do, is that you would go out and play somewhere you weren't supposed to. You would come back, and then your mom would be mad at you. Your father would kind of smile, but your mom would be the one who would always know where you went. Like, even if you didn't tell her, you always thought you cleaned up, but she was always like, I know exactly. So she takes a little bit of this travel dirt, and she says, rode for a long time. All the way down to the river, I see. All the way to the south, probably. And
further.
And she nods and she says, And how have you been feeling, child? Is the travel... Is it giving you joy the way it gave me?
And, like, since last time, her mom can probably tell that Inge has, like, very deep rings under her eyes.
Yeah.
Because, shadow points and stuff, so she looks kind of weary, and there are a few more scars here and there, and whatever, like, the ones you can see anyway. She's like, yeah, sometimes this gives me joy.
And so she nods slowly, just kind of listening.
But what is going on with you? Why are you in bed? Why are you not up?
And she kind of glances over at Halfir, and he looks back, and then she says, "Well, I suppose it was a couple of years, probably after you left home. I started to feel, well, not quite right. I was out gathering stuff down in Dale and getting ready to come back, and I felt, just a little warm, flushed. Nothing important, really. But then, well, they tell me I fainted, I guess. I probably just bumped my head against something, I suppose. And then they brought me back, and they told me, well, I had some illness. It wasn't really, And then she kind of pauses and sighs. And of course, you remember that your parents, one of the big things, your parents definitely had their flaws, but they never lied to you. And so she takes a deep sigh, and then she says, they say that I've got a rock fever. I don't see that that's possible. We're supposed to be stronger than that. And Halfir sort of, looks solemnly at her and back at you, and she says, they've brought in some healers, and, well, they say that it's probably, I don't know, I might get better, they say. I'm sure I will. I'll get better. And, it's been a long time, and I haven't been able to go about the way I wish. And Halfir kind of glances up at you, Inga, and sort of like, kind of holds your gaze. This time he's not telling you to do anything with his look. He's just kind of seeing how you're acting or reacting to any of what you see. Do you have any obvious reaction that you're trying to reveal or not reveal?
Like, Inga kind of, like, she's, first of all, speechless, but, like, the expression on her face is like this mix of disbelief and anger, basically, and sadness, and like a billion emotions at once, and it's all a bit much. So how, what exactly is rock fever?
So are you asking her, or are you asking me?
No, like, because Inga would know what that is, right?
So rock fever is something which was often, which was a danger for miners, in particular in this world, particularly dwarven miners, obviously, who, dealt with this a lot. And it's basically a disease of the lung that is created by, thank you, Jed K, welcome to the Argonauts. It's basically a disease of the lung, which comes from the inhaling of particular kinds of stone dust that sort of gets into the lungs. But the thing
it's silicosis.
Say again, it's what?
Silicosis, which is a real thing that happens in the world. And
there's a sort of version of black lung, which this would sort of tie into as well. The one difference, though, and this is the thing that makes this sort of, unusual. Dwarves, over centuries and centuries and centuries, have become very resistant to this because, they're constantly exposed to dust and rock and all that kind of stuff. But the thing about rock fever is that rock fever also has a component of darkness to it. Specifically, the worst rock fever, especially from the dwarves, was gained when they tunneled too close to places of darkness from the past. You'll remember the reference to they tunneled too greedily and too deep in Moria, and they found the Balrog. A lot of those dwarves suffered from rock fever because of their exposure to being close to the shadow. In other words, it's not the inhalation of dust, it's the shadow presence of it. And so you see a slight echo of your own fears and doubts and uncertainties that have built up in you over the course of the journey, Inga, you see a little bit of that reflected in your mother's face. And the thing about your mother, which makes this troubling, is that I already talked quite a number of times about, the question of fieriness and, all that stuff. Your mother was indomitable. I mean, your father was steady and consistent, but your mother was like, whatever. Like you traveled to all sorts of places that would have been seen as dangerous, and you might remember that some of the dwarves viewed your family's travels even as excessive. Like eventually come back and settle down a bit here, or let's go work on some stuff. And there was always this wanderlust there, and part of that came from this fearlessness, which was, of course, the thing that your father loved most in her. You think was her fearlessness and her indomitable spirit, which of course much of which has been passed on to you. And for her to be sort of, slightly reduced like this is powerful. And it is unusual, although not unheard of, for a dwarf to get this. But for a dwarf to have gotten it recently, and again, as she said, this is only a few years that we're talking about. This is not she's had this for decades. That's odd, and it suggests something about the presence of shadow. In perhaps her world as much as in your own. So that's what you would know about the rock fever. Although you can ask me other questions about it if you like.
No, just like a billion things going through my mind right now.
Yep.
It's so heavy.
Yeah, bit too real. After I'm assuming a moment of silence, Inge turns to Halfa and asks, for how long is she has she been like that?
And he says, well, when she first got it, it was not too bad, a slight fever. At first, well, she wouldn't even let anyone look at her, said she was fine, just a bit of a cough, bit of a fever, it would pass. But then a couple of months went by, and then I insisted. And he kind of looks down at her, and there's a quick look that passes between them, which is sort of the, insisted even though she didn't want to do it, and, bless you. And he was just that was where he must have given her the look, where he's just kind of nope, you're going to see someone now. And he says, then when the doctors came, they started to look over and see what might be. When they found out that it was probably rock fever, they didn't know exactly what to do. King Dane sent Munin himself, one of his great scholars, I don't know if you've seen him, to research the condition. But it had been a while, and the last people that had it were ones who were working on the foundations after trying to restore things from the Great Worm. They all passed within a year. And so we gathered the information we could. She got a little worse, and, well, you can see where she is right now. And he kind of slightly hesitates a bit, it's not that his voice catches, but he says, I'm hoping that we can talk more about it outside. And he kind of looks at you as if to say, when you're done, we'll talk more about this thing with your mom.
All right. And Inge gets up, puts a kiss on her mom's forehead, and then goes outside with her dad.
And she, as you're going back, she, as she kind of reaches up and caresses your face, and she says, all right, well, keep on going, my child. I'll be fine. And so when you all leave the room, I'm not saying all, just those two.
Yeah.
Just those two.
Okay.
No, I'm just those two. When they leave the room, Hafir turns back to you and he says, it's true that she's been getting worse. But Inge, I know there's a way to save her. I'm sure of it. When I found out about this army, this thing that was coming, it happened, well, something about it. You ever feel a weight on you? Like, you don't know what it is, but something feels as if it's watching you in the nights, or comes to you when you're not paying attention.
Yeah, I think I know what you mean.
And he kind of looks at you, because he was always able to see a lot of how you felt, and he notices, the bags, the rings under your eyes, and he says, I had a feeling you were feeling it the same way I was. Inga, this feeling, this darkness, this shadow, most of the families got it. Not rock fever, but this feeling of weight, of burden. My dad, my ma, my grandparents, your uncles, aunts, all of them, there's kind of a slowness, like they're pulling their way through quicksand and mud. But it's not natural, and I know there's got to be a way to lift it. Your ma's strong, you know that. Rock fever, her? You can lift this, Inga. If we can break the shadow, we can break this. And I know she's got more in her. It's just buried right now. He's got this real intensity. Like, he says, you've been doing nothing but traveling. I don't want you to leave again, but somehow I feel you're the only one who can lift it. Pull it clear.
I mean, how can I leave now?
He says, because that's what your ma wants, for you to leave. And what I want is for you to leave with your friends and to help fix this. It's this shadow. I heard what you did at the bridge, down there in the village. I heard you held him back. You fought off the darkness. That's always what you've been, Inga. You can do it again. You need to leave so that you can come home. And he kind of, sniffles and turns away. Kind of becomes very interested in the crack in the floor, by which we mean actually wiping his eyes for a minute. And
yeah, yeah, Inga sees that, and after a moment, she just grabs him and hugs him very tightly, and also starts sobbing. And I'm assuming they both turn to a mess, into a puddle.
Pretty much, I would say.
Yeah.
And he says, but as you're holding him, he says, now, you've always been strongest, but you got one thing going for you. And he kind of, then separates you gently again, and he says, you've got our blood in you, and your ma's blood. But where I wanted to stay and kind of work slow, and your ma wanted to go and explore everywhere, you got both of us and you, and you combined them into something different and better and stronger. I know you can do it. And he says, oh, and I got something for you too. And he kind of reaches around and pulls out of his belt this little hammer. And then he puts it together with the chisel that he was using to fix the stairs. And he hands over this hammer and chisel. Now, your earliest memories of learning stonecraft on the road with your father was him using these tools. And he once had told you that one good tool is worth 1,000 broken days, in which he said, this one tool basically will get you through these things. And so this actually has on the bottom of it, it's a very simple chisel and hammer, but on the bottom of it is inscribed a rune, which is your dwarven family rune on the bottom of each of these. This was the thing that was given to him from his father and from his grandfather and so on. And supposedly it's not meant to be passed on until their actual death, which clearly is not the case right now. And so he passes it over to you and he says, I want you to have this. You're gonna need to use it. I'm breaking hundreds of years of tradition, but to the fires with it. And, now, to the fires with it is as close as your dad ever gets to swearing. So, to the fires with it, you're like, whoa, Dad. To the fires with it, he says, it's hammer and chisel. I know what you can do with it. If time comes when you're feeling as low as you can get, and the shadows crept into you, remember these. Make something to take it out of you. Sit there and in the rock and the stone, build something new, and it'll pass. It always passes. And so he hands it over to you. Now, mechanically, this is assuming you accept said chisel. Mechanically, we're all just, I know. Mechanically, what this does is that this will give you any check that involves stonecraft or stone shaping or woodcraft or anything that has to do with essentially crafting, okay? That you have normally done various checks, just to decorate and to fix. This is going to give you a +3 to those checks, the use of these tools.
Okay, cool.
And moreover, under certain circumstances, I can't tell you when, okay, because I don't want to give it away. This is not how that works. But there may be moments when you are in desperate straits where you decide that you wish to do exactly as your father just said, which is to craft essentially a rune, to decorate something beautiful in the ways of your family again. And when you do that, there will be a benefit to you, but I can't describe it yet because I just can't do that. I will say that it's not a combat thing. Like, you don't in the middle of combat start chiseling things, okay? But outside of combat, this is the kind of thing you can use. It is a one-time only use for that particular thing, but it will have a benefit to you.
Okay. Okay. Sorry, it's all a bit much, right?
I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is Arv gathers us all around and makes us cry game.
Yeah.
Reunions are combinations of things, and I trust all of my players. I trust you folks. I wanted to make this worth something. So, Hafir kind of comes down the stairs, assuming you follow him, follows down the stairs with you. Again, I'm not making you follow him, but assuming you follow him, where your companions are waiting. Okay.
While they've been upstairs, River has gotten her harp out, the cool one that Gandalf gave her, and has been very, very softly playing the only dwarven song she knows, which is as it happens, the Withered Heath one from The Hobbit.
Oh. Nice. Yes. Appropriate. And so you can hear that music kind of drifting through the house, which you probably only just notice, I would say, Inga, as you're coming down the stairs, and it kind of matches your mood. You're like, yes, as you're going downstairs, and you can see your companions sitting there. And I should have asked while you were doing that very quickly, Tani and Robar, was there anything in particular you were doing while they were? Okay, no, Tani, Robar, was there anything in particular you were doing, or just waiting?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. So when Inga comes down the stairs, then all of you can see that both she and Halfa look sort of shaken up, and definitely you see that in Inga in particular, who you know so well.
She's shit at hiding her emotions. So.
Yep. So they come down, and Halfa says, "I'm sorry for keeping you waiting, masters. Just had a little bit of family business to attend to."
River, who's immediately stopped playing music as soon as they're in sight.
Mid-note, basically.
Kind of, literally stops and stands and says, "Is everything all right?"
Inga's just oh, I see nobody has gotten you anything to drink yet, and then stomps off into the kitchen.
And Halfa looks sort of a little uncomfortably at all of you, and so you must have traveled. I understand you went a real long way. I don't suppose you've had a chance to get west of the Misty Mountains, have you? He's saying, obviously not to Inga, but to the three of you.
Yeah. River does not press the clearly extremely painful subject, and instead sort of just tries to go with it and say, no, not beyond them, but we did get to them. We did. We've walked in their shadows, and we've had a number of adventures there. And starts just sort of trying to totally shift the tone of the conversation towards talking about things that are not family.
And you do have a chance to speak a little bit about various travel details. He's, in particular, you notice that Inga's father is very interested in structures that you've seen. So, when you describe places like the Dwimmerhorn, or places like Roskabel, or even the Elf Tower that you rescued your father from, and all that. He's very interested in all of that, and in kind of hearing details about the ancient structures that were built. And in particular, he's interested in finding, anytime you bring up anything that suggests like ancient ruins and things like that. You may remember that in Stonyford, for example, there was a tower that was kind of like half fallen and stuff that had. So he's really, right, exactly. And so he was very interested in what he's asking you things like, what did you see on the second floor? Like, he's asking you technical stuff, like about oh, did you see the following steps on the second floor? And you're kind of like, well, I was trying not to be shot, and I don't, I don't know, but he's very interested in talking about that stuff. And Robar, in your case, he asks you quite a bit about sort of human constructions. He wants to know a little bit about the sort of things that the Dunedain might have seen in terms of lonely towers and kind of fortresses in the middle of nowhere and stuff like that, that you can specify for him. Is there anything in particular that you tell him about in your sort of
There was a moment a while back when Robar was on the road when he found a statue of a long lost king out in the wild.
I remember that, yes.
So he'd probably bring that one up.
And he was, so he's very fascinated about that, and he starts speculating about what king it might be, and who the probable sculptor was that worked on it, and the artisan who built the statue. He has all this inside baseball knowledge about artisans who worked on these things.
Right.
And Tani, with you, he is particularly interested about the sort of building of the Bjorns out of natural things. So he's familiar with things like the Carrick and things that were built around that area out of it. And so a lot of what he asks you is about sort of I'm trying to think of how I would describe this. I guess it would be a little bit like someone who's an artisan, talking to a vegetarian or a vegan about how they, because he's I cut wood and I use stone, and he doesn't destroy things, but he's you use them as resources. And obviously the Bjornings are a little bit more, yes, you use them as resources, but you're really kind of, it's from the earth and you're trying not to overdo it and all that stuff. So he's a little bit so how do you do that exactly? How do those places get built? Without hurting things, sort of. And, so he goes on in this discussion with you about it. And I guess same question to you. Is there anything that you give him in the direction of your conversation with him, or not?
Not really. Tani's part of the conversation is actually kind of halting a little bit, because he's still thinking about all the research that he's doing. So he's mostly focused on that, but he does at one point ask if there are any herbalists in the mountain that he could talk to before he leaves.
And he nods. He says, yes, there's a couple in particular. Never used to have herbalists, but then there have been need for, and his eyes flicker over. By this point, I would say Inga's returned, and his eyes flicker over to Inga at one point, and he says, to healers, and we've had need of them a little bit. And
River says, unbidden, but with the kind of enthusiasm that comes from talking up her friends, says, Tani is in fact a master healer. He healed the Lord of the Eagles, for that matter. Or was it Lord of the Eagles? It was an eagle lord.
One of the
Yes, one of them.
she gives his name, whatever it was. She like, he heals the great Eagle Lord Guai here or whatever of his wounds, and like just like, you know, doesn't like lay it on super thick, but like, you know, speaks things that are true and accurate with like enthusiasm and warmth and obvious admiration for Tawny and the things that he does.
And so when you know, you talk about that, and when you say the thing about the great, you know, the master healer, he, you know, you immediately see, you don't even need to check to see that Halfa looks over and is immediately like, his eyes widen a bit and his mouth opens as if to say something, and then he kind of gradually closes it, and again, Inga, you see his eyes kind of flicker over to you, and then when you're done speaking, he sort of nods, and then he says, I don't mean to ask anything out of turn, but, well, I spoke, Inga and I were just speaking about a family concern, and, well, since you said you do healing, sir, he looks back at you, Tawny, I wondered if you might, and he kind of hesitates and falters and kind of looks at you, Inga, like, help.
Tawny, my mom is sick.
Show me.
Yeah. And Inga
you bring him
gets
up?
And, yeah.
So when you bring her, and so downstairs, Robar and the river, you sort of just look at Halfa, who just kind of sinks into a chair as they go up. Tawny, when you go in there and you see her mother, Ida, you can see indeed that she does look sick and feverish. And as you do your sort of checks and determinations, what you're able to note is that there's no question that this is a sort of long-lasting thing, which has gradually gotten worse. But you've heard of rock fever before, and rock fever was largely eradicated in this part of the world with the falling of Smaug, and, not maybe totally coincidentally, with the driving of the necromancer from Dol Guldur. And since that time, there has not been, you don't know of a lot of, I mean, you haven't, obviously you've been over with the Bjornings, but you haven't seen anyone else occupied with rock fever. No one other dwarf that you've seen here has had any of it, although there may have been one or two that passed away. But as you measure and you kind of listen to her lungs and the whole business, she's a little uncomfortable about all this, but Inga being there kind of gives her, she kind of goes along with it because Inga says it's okay. And, you know, she feels like she should be relatively hale and hearty. It's not the disease that's killing her. It's something else that's weighing down on her that's a part of this disease that's sort of combined with it, that's making it worse. And there is an echo of it, quite frankly, in what you have seen in Inga on this trip. You could treat the body. You don't know how much you can treat the spirit, but I'm willing to let you see if you want to give it a try.
Inga, we need hagweed.
I'll go get some. I have no idea how long it's
going to be easy to find here.
I'll check the market and with the pharmacy.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else?
No, that's primarily it.
Okay. I'll get going then. If you need anything else, let my father know. And then she turns to her mom and is like, and says to her, "It's gonna be all right. Tawny here is the best healer in the world."
Bring as much as you can. This will not only help her, but it will also help you.
Oh, all right. And then she goes downstairs again.
Okay. So I'm going to assume then that you're going off to try to find this.
River's going to stand up and say, "Can I help?" Can I come with you?
I'll come too. If you need us.
I mean, sure. I need to run an errand if you want to come along.
Yeah.
Sure.
All right. So while the three of them, I'm going to explain what the three of them find or what they do in a minute. Tani, what are you doing while they're gone?
I am regaling Ida with stories of her daughters.
Oh God, no.
Yes.
She's like
reverse photo book gambit.
Yeah, she loves it. Like she's just like, everyone. She kind of laughs. There's a strange experience.
To cheer the spirit, basically.
Yeah, she and it's a laugh. It's a weak laugh, which is not the way that Inga described her mother to you. But one thing that you note is that even in the weakness of the laugh, you recognize. I mean, you hear echoes of Inga's. I mean, there you can see where some of even the anger. You remember a little bit of the anger that Inga had at first towards you when you weren't fighting. And her being like, "Why aren't you fighting?" and that kind of fire. There is some of it there, but it's smoldering at the moment. And as you're sort of regaling them, the three of you hurry back up to try to find the apothecary. So when you go to find them, and you sort of ask for details about it. I guess I should asking, do you sort of go first to your own people to see like what they might have in stores, or do you go right
Yes.
to the stores? Okay.
Yeah, like
as opposed
whatever
to going back
is
to
closest.
Dale. Okay.
No. She's first got to check here what she can find.
It's a good thing you did that because so they don't have when you ask for hagweed and you have to kind of translate it into the dwarven equivalent, and they don't really at first know. But one of the healers who's older goes and fetches Munin, and sort of talks to him about this, and he nods, and he brings you Inga, and he asks Robar and the river to sort of wait because this place is not for others than dwarves to go. He brings you into one area of the archives. It's actually behind where Tani was doing all of his work with Munin. Rather, I guess I should say will be doing his work with Munin because we're doing this little encounter in the past. Mm-hmm. He will be doing his work. And in the back of the archive, there is a small room which, when it is opened, has, and you've never been in this room, Inga, this has all kinds of reagents, herbs, potions, bottles, vials, tubes, like everything you could imagine back in this relatively small room. And when he hands you this stuff, he hands you what is essentially a number of sprigs of this hagweed. It looks, or the dwarven equivalent, it looks dried as if it has been preserved here, and it looks very, very old. And Munin tells you that this is from the personal stock of King Dane, which was always kept. Basically, there's a stock of medicine which is kept to protect the kings under the mountain in case of poison or illness. I mean, dwarves are very resistant to it anyway, but they have their own special stock of stuff, some of which has not been seen in the world now for decades or centuries. The dwarves keep stock of it because they encountered it in various travels, and they do this because they know that there may be times when the dwarves have been through it, right? And they always want to be prepared for everything if they can be. And so Dane is essentially giving you some of his own personal stock to try to help. So Munin wishes you well with these stocks, which is probably, I would guess, at least as much as Tani would need, and maybe even a little more than he would need of this stuff. Although, again, it's a different form, but we'll deal with that when we get there. So then once you have it, you can, if you wish, return. I mean, I don't know if you want to. I'm assuming you're going back quickly, but you tell me if that's not the case. And River and Robar, as she comes back, do you tell them, Inga, about the stuff that you were given?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to make sure. That's fine. I don't want to just I don't want to railroad your character. So when you tell them about it, they... both of you, Robar in particular, River, I mean, you've heard of hagweed. You don't know of this particular kind, but when you look at this, Robar, anytime that you've encountered hagweed in the wild, anytime you've encountered these things, it's fresh and green, and and it is not. It's kind of rare, but whenever you find it, it's a very distinctive looking plant. This looks sort of, as I said, dried and brown, and definitely still of the same substance. But this, I mean, this looks ancient. I mean, like it's been there for a long, long time in an almost airless chamber, almost. And so this probably predates you, maybe your father. And it just is another reminder of age, you know, the great age of the dwarves, even longer lived than the Dunedain are. And so once you get back to the house, Tani, who is upstairs, you can hear a little bit of faint laughter, Inga, coming from the windows, the second floor windows. And when you come in, you can see that Hafa is waiting and sort of nods and points up the stairs. And when you get up to the stairs, Tani, and they enter, you can see that your mother is smiling, which is a pleasant sight, and seems considerably a little more peppy than, you know, before, as if she's been laughing quite a bit. Yeah, so you're now in the room.
Basically, Inga just went straight up to the bedroom, like not even took her coat, her cloak off or anything. Oh, whatever. I probably wouldn't be wearing a cloak. Probably pretty warm here. Anyway, she goes straight up to the room, and
is it sort of clear that like that River and Rabar should like stay down?
I'd say that's up to what Inga wants.
Oh, Inga does not care. She has like her mind somewhere completely else.
Okay. So assuming she doesn't care, and assuming, then I guess unless you don't want to follow River and Robar, then I would say you could probably go in with her and see what I have previously described of her mother, who again does not look at all what you would have imagined. Well, not entirely. You can definitely see the family resemblance. You can see Inga is very much looks very much like her mother, with the eyes of her father, really, but looks very much like them, and yet some of the shadowy circles under Inga's eyes and so forth seem to be even more manifest in Ida. She looks weaker than you would have expected. But she's sitting up in the bed, and she kind of nods and greets you. She looks slightly embarrassed that, you know, you're not like get out, but like just sort of slightly like, oh, you know, trying to not make it seem like she's sick and all that stuff.
River, on meeting her, will say, like, in a way that sort of doesn't seem to take in her being ill at all, just bows to her and says, it's an honor to meet someone who I have heard in my friend's name for years now, and stuff like that. Just like.
And she nods and she says, the honor's mine. You've been anyone as traveling companion of my child is worth anything that we can give to them, and I'm glad you've helped bring her back safe, and she's helped bring you all back safe here. I'm glad she has such friends. So Tani, you then can take this, if you wish, the stuff that she's recovered. And as I say, this, I mean, same as Robar, you've seen this stuff. This is old. In fact, you've never really dealt with anything this old as far as herbs are concerned. So, yeah, but there's a good deal of it.
He's already got his mortar and pestle laid out, and he starts breaking it up into smaller pieces and grinding it. And while he's grinding it into a fine powder, he talks about the time that one of the times that we were crossing the Anduin, and we were near the Anduin, and we realized that there were a bunch of hags, river hags in the thing, and that we avoided them, and that the only reason Tawny regretted that decision is that that's the perfect place to find this stuff. And he knew that at some point they would probably need it, but the risk was too great.
Yeah.
And so he's relating that story while he's grinding.
And River says, wasn't that also where we found that elf stone? That shining, remember, like there was like a gem or something that we found? And it shone so brightly, and it seemed like such a good omen for our journey.
Mm-hmm. I presume that the two of you do not, and he looks at Inga and Ida, that you don't mind sharing a pipe.
No, absolutely not.
All right. So once it's properly ground, he asks for a pipe and packs the powder into it and says, "The two of you smoke some of this."
Yeah, Inga lights a pipe, takes like I don't know how pipe smoking works, but like I'm assuming you like do like a thing to test.
You
Yeah,
inhale.
draw it, yeah.
Okay, and like she doesn't really smoke it yet. Like first she hands it to her mom. She just makes sure that it's like properly lit and stuff.
And she takes a breath as well. Tani, I need you to make a medicine check for me, please. Trying to think how to adjust this.
While you're thinking about that, I will read this.
Okay.
Hagweed, ground into a paste, dried and smoked in a pipe. Hagweed eases the spirit and cures 1 shadow point.
You know what? Listen, I'm about to pat myself on the back because exactly what I was about to ask. So I was about to say, I think that's about 1 shadow point. Now, it's not, however, this is not a guarantee. You're going to need to succeed in a medicine check for this to work. But if you do, then I'll tell you the effect on the mother, but I will also allow Inga to remove a shadow point if this works.
Can I inspire Tony?
This one I will take inspiration.
Yeah, for sure. Just type that into Twitch chat if you don't mind, Amal, please.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, wait. Maybe, and I'm actually wondering if there's a thing River can do instead.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I mean. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Okay. No. So how about this? So. Okay. Essentially, what River can do is use Warden's Gift, which is inspiring others through stirring words, through music, or by your presence alone, which gifts 1d8 to person of choice. Okay. So I can either give you 1d8, or in like I think River would do that anyway. Essentially, like she would probably be playing on her cool Gandalf-y harp throughout this way.
And in this case, I will say that because this is happening before everything else, you will have the benefit of a long rest to get that back. In this case, so yeah.
That would be awesome. I only need a short rest to get them back.
Or whichever, but like the point is like yeah.
Great. So yeah.
So what are we going with?
I mean, she'll definitely do that. If you still want inspiration, I can do that, but then I won't have it for the next session at all. So I leave it to you.
But either way, you're going to get the 1d8 is the point.
Yeah.
So whether we have the inspiration or not.
Right. I mean, also, there's other people in chat who can also provide
there are other people in chat.
Inspiration. If anyone in chat would like to inspire or is curious about how to do so. And for those of you who are like, how do I do that? I'm glad you asked. If you inspire, the way we do this here is if you support the channel by subbing at the tier 2 level or above, or if you support the Patreon at the $10 level or above, then you can get inspiration. You can get no more than 2 in a given month. Also, if you happen to have 30,000 channel points, you could also redeem that for an inspiration too. But you do that, and then as Echo just listed there, you can do that and then you will have inspirations that you can use. Again, this is just per month. They expire every month, and then they are reestablished. So Nonstop has come through with an inspiration. I don't think you meant the River, though. I think you meant to inspire... I'm guessing
Tani,
you meant to inspire Tani, right? Nonstop? But either way, the inspiration is used up, so thank you. Nonstop with the power of inspiration.
River starts playing the song from before. Okay.
Thank you, Nonstop.
It's just sort of like, just quickly to share, I don't want to take up too much time because I do actually have to leave, but this song in The Hobbit is actually, I read The Hobbit when I was 7, and this was the first of the songs in it. It's the first of the songs in The Hobbit. And I made up a tune to it when I was 7, which has been the default tune to it in my head.
Ooh, okay.
Literally since then. So it goes like, the wind was on the withered heath, but in the forest stirred no leaf. Their shadows lay by night and day, and dark things silent crept beneath. Wind came down from mountains cold, and like a tide it roared and rolled. Branches groaned, the forest moaned, and leaves were laid upon the mold. And it goes like that. So she'll just like start playing the harp and singing that.
It's lovely.
25
Well,
plus
damn.
1d8.
Hey!
So yeah, roll that 1d8. Or, yeah, you roll the 1d8, I think.
Roll
Tony.
that 1d8 as well. Why not?
Oh, I roll the 1d8.
Yeah, you roll the 1d8.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. I'll roll a 1d8. We will add 6 to that.
So 31?
31.
Okay. You fail. No, I'm just kidding. So you needed a 35. God damn. No. So yes, as you smoke the pipe, Inga, your part of it is you feel, because you look into the eyes of your mother and you feel as if you are reminded of one of the first times that your mother brought you on, again, sort of brought you and talked to you on your own when you were on one of your journeys. And you remember her bringing you to the top of this small hill. And it was one of these things where you had been traveling through kind of a lower grassy area and then went up on this hill. And it was the first time that you had ever caught sight of spaciousness in front of you, by which I mean the top of the hill you could see like this whole landscape laid out. Like before that, it was just kind of winding, rolling hills, so you didn't really get to see a lot at once. So she brought you to the top, and you could see much of kind of Wilderland laid out before you as you were seeing this. And you remember very distinctly, it was just you and your mother, it was in the evening, and you remember the quietness. There were a couple of birds that were, a couple of, maybe it was actually not birds, it was nighttime, so maybe it was bats kind of like flying overhead. You could hear the sound of wings flapping, and so on. Certainly there were crickets that you could hear. And you remember her pointing out at the land and saying, "All right, darling, you see that? All of that's yours. All of it's ours to find. Someday." And that sort of image has always stayed in your mind. And as you are having this pipe with her, that moment somewhere in the haze of smoke and memory drifts into your consciousness. And you feel almost palpably the calm of that evening settle upon you somewhat. And you do indeed remove a shadow point. Also, Ida looks considerably better. Now, Ida is not healed. And Tani, you feel like whatever is in her is drawn deep, and is not something that even a master healer of your skill could remove. But this is also clearly not native to her system. And you know well enough to know that those who wish to be healed with strength to be healed, who have the opportunity and the care that they need, can shake off many things if given the chance. But the weight needs to be lifted first. And so you haven't fixed it, but you've definitely improved it. And you can see sort of the delighted expression of Hafa, and she takes the pipe of watching his wife, and then Ida takes the pipe from her lips, and I haven't smoked and thought about things in a good way for a long time. I'm thankful to you. And she kind of looks over at you and smiles and nods, Inga, as if she had had the same memory that you just did, looking at you.
Yeah, Inga, it's just like, I'm assuming like leaning against the wall or something, or leaning against the table, I don't know. Like, she doesn't look like she's completely there.
Right.
Like, she's kind of like still like in that, on those hills in her mind, and it's just like at some point, it's like, this is some good stuff.
And she sort of smiles and nods at you, and she thanks you again, Tani. And when you have a chance to speak more to Hafa, your father, sorry,
don't bother. You don't need to correct yourself. It's fine.
Well,
I know it's difficult.
I want to pronounce it right. All right.
Can you actually spell it out in the chat?
Oh, I did already, but I can do it again.
I did not.
It's a ways back.
Oh, I thought in the Zoom chat. I was.
Oh no.
No.
But it probably will be in a moment.
Oh yeah, I can do that as well. Oops. There you go.
So, when he has a chance to talk to you more, you speak a little bit about the path ahead, and this is, of course, before this sort of couple weeks. Half Hero tells you, first of all, that your some of your family is grandparents, aunts, and uncles have been away, but they will probably be returning in about a month or so back to Erebor, back to the mountain, but that they have been staying away from mostly from the house because they haven't wanted to disturb, your mother, and they haven't wanted to sort of create sort of issues. But that obviously, as you've heard, it has been weighing on all of them, this shadow that's been referred to. And so because your family was a good-sized family that was kind of ripe for adventure, and it's odd to just see the two of them just on their own this way. And he says, more or less that he wants you to return, come back in a place where you can be, where this celebration and the reunion will be splendid, basically. And you do remember some of the late night parties that your parents were able to throw, and they were always super impressive and dramatic, with lots of games of skill and food and incredible. There's always the big family thing once per year was a big competition about who would make the most spectacular decorative stonework piece that would be judged, and so it was always like a back and forth thing that you had always wanted to be able to participate in more. And then with things between what happened to your husband and then, the aspects of having to leave, you were never able to do that the way that you wanted to with the full family with your current skill. And so getting a chance to do that with what you've learned, now, would be pretty cool if they have such a competition again. And so he talks to you about all of this, and he says, last thing I'll tell you, and I see you, Mal, I'll be with you one sec. He says, last thing I'll say, the trip you're about to take, I don't know what they've told you about it, but it's dangerous, and it's long, and the places there are dark and covered in shadow. But remember, we've crossed over those lands before. We've traveled those places before. Remember what I gave you. Remember what we talked about. And remember your own strength, Inga. Trust in your friends. Trust in your family. Most of all, and he kind of does a slight little, almost like cuff on the shoulder that he used to do when you were a kid. You gotta trust in yourself. And he smiles at you. And I think with that, I think we will bring this session, although we did not get to leave the mountain, but I wanted to spend some time on this, to a close. And I will start by saying very quickly, because I know Mal's got to get going, but I wanted to start by just saying very quickly that I appreciate very much Terry being willing to deal with that. I know it was intense, but I wanted the reunion to mean something. The reason that I wasn't going to do it now was because I knew this was going to be intense, and I was thinking about doing it basically upon your return, but I think it's from the, Withered Heath, but I think it's actually better to do it now, actually, because it gives context to what you're about to do. So thank you for the reminder and for the suggestion that we do it now. And I'll come to see what you think about stuff after I say things for Amal. I'm glad you liked it, Arudno. So Mal, I know you got to get going to teach. Thank you so much. It was good stuff today. I love that. I love that tune at the end from that song from The Hobbit, which of course I know very well. And but it was nice to hear what your version would have been like at the age of 7, which is when I started to read The Hobbit as well. How did you feel about today? Where will the lovely folks see you next?
It was so lovely. It was really nice to have a session that was just quiet and but full of intense feelings that are quiet instead of intense feelings that are
yeah, exactly.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
So even though I missed the bulk of the intense death session, this was very, very beautiful and very, very moving, and I, I imagine like River is kind of bursting with like mom feels, but like yeah, the time is not for now. I'll have to write a song about it or something. But like just it's very moving and beautiful and good. And as if Hagweed takes away shadow points, where have we not been looking for this all the time?
No, he has been, but it's very hard to find, and that's why I made it clear they took it from King Dane's private, like, airless maintained store. Like, it's not easy to find this stuff.
I mean, that's the reason I related that story about the river and the hags, because I'm looking for it the whole time.
Right. Well, now that we know what it looks like and what it does, I think that maybe we can keep a keener eye out for it or something on our way to the Withered Heath where nothing grows. But anyway, but yeah, no, it was lovely. I really, really appreciated that and enjoyed that, and it was gorgeous. Happy we got to witness that. People can find me places that are mostly on the internet. I'm on Twitter intermittently at Tithenai, Titheneai. I have a Substack, which is like a newsletter with occasional bonus other content. It's amal.substack.com. There's like, I've got this book, which is called This Is How You Lose the Time War, and it's coming out in paperback in March. So either, you can seek that out to pre-order, or you can find the beautiful, gorgeous, embossed hardcover, and get that before it vanishes away, and stuff. So, but yeah, that's about it. Thanks so much for this. I'm gonna run away, but I will leave this up. And I just really enjoyed everything about it. I like it when our characters can just hang out and be domestic for a little while.
Yeah.
And especially because there's not going to be any of that for a long time. I was really savoring this.
It was great. Thank you. And Amal, one thing they asked you quickly for the title of, I don't think there necessarily is one, but Echo wanted to know about that because he made a clip of that. You're singing it. So he wanted to know about the title for the song. Like, is there a title that you'd want to give it? I mean, it's in the...
I think it's just called The Withered Heath.
I think that's right. Yeah. I mean, I don't think there's any specific thing to that. So I would just say The Withered Heath.
The wind was on the Withered Heath, I think, is like it's the first line of it. And it's in the Queer Lodgings chapter in The Hobbit. And it's the song, I think, that the dwarves sing. Yeah, it was the one they sing when they're at Bjorn's house. Yep. I think, right?
Yep.
And I liked the idea that it's like the only dwarven song that River knows, because like post killing of Smaug, it has probably, like, dwarven travelers have been carrying it to places where dwarves are not and stuff more. But
right.
So anyway, that's
Okay, I want to make sure that I got that. Thank you so much, Amal. Good work today, and we will see you for this in a couple of weeks, I believe is what I have as our next session, or I'll double check. I don't know if it's this
next week.
Is it next week? Okay, yeah, I'll have to look at my calendar. Next week. That's right. So next week. And next week, by the way, because it's reading week, next week is noon, right?
Yes.
Eastern, so we can go back to noon. So Will and everybody, noon next week Eastern, for next week. So that will be later for next week. But thank you, Amal, so much, and everyone go get her books and her other work, because she's awesome. And thank you, and have fun with class today.
Bye.
And that is going to lead us to Terry. Again, Terry, what can I say? Really, really wonderful work. And I'm always, I don't want to make people cry. Like, I don't. Like, but Gandalf himself says that, I will not say do not weep, for not all tears are an evil. And I really did want to make the reunion make a difference. And also have a sense of the hope, which is why I'm glad that Tani was able to get some of that stuff in. And I wanted to kind of build a relationship a little bit too with them. But you did very wonderfully with that, and I can't wait to see you use the chisel and hammer in certain contexts too. How did you feel about today? Thank you again for sticking with it, and I'm sorry that it was intense, but I hope it was, I hope it was worthwhile despite the intensity. How'd you feel about today, and where will they see you?
It was definitely worthwhile, just like a lot,
I know, I'm sorry.
Just like some very specific images that came up in my mind, of seeing my mom with cancer when I was a child. It was like, yay, PTSD.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. just like after the stream, I'm gonna go and have a good cry and everything will be
Oh,
fine.
Terry, I'm sorry.
No. Seriously though, like this is some next level stuff here. Like, I mean, I had like intense moments in gaming before, but like you like constantly bring it. Like it's not just like, you know, like a moment in an entire series. No, it's just like all the time. It's like so good and like, oh god, how do I words? Just yeah, it's like next level.
Well, thank you. Well,
Yeah.
the players are the ones who make it possible to do that, and that's why I trusted you to do it. Just before you go on, again, I've said this about all the campaigns. I think Tren would say this also about Infinity and Beyond. It takes commitment and a willingness to be vulnerable to do good work that matters. And so I'm very appreciative of the fact that you do that, and I think it has a profound effect on people that watch and people that play. So thank you, and I am sorry to have caused any pain at all.
No, it's okay. It really is okay.
Okay.
Great. Now you are crying. Oh god.
I'm well. Listen, and my mom too. But
Yeah,
anyway, go on.
No, it's just like I can just say, like, if this wasn't an online session, but like an in-person session, like this would have been even way more, way more. Like, but yeah.
Yeah. Not every session is like this. There's like a couple people that came over. They're like, Jesus Christ! Like, what is this? Like, they're not all. You know, they spend a lot of sessions just beating the hell out of orcs too. So, but these are what reunions are about. And also, by the way, one last thing. Inga's been away for a long time from her home too. Like, as far as in game terms, like the whole adventure. You know, you've been away from your home, and so that's the other thing. It took a long time to get to this point. So.
Yeah. Oof. Yeah, I want to say something profound, but I can't think of anything.
Can I just remind everyone that, like, after these years of of separation and sadness and melancholy, the first things that Inga said to her dad were, "Hey, Dad."
No, not "Hey, Dad," but like, "Hey, Dad."
Yes. Yes. I just think it's the most beautiful and in character loveliness thing to flag it.
100%. Not "Father, I have returned." Like, it's not like that. It's like, you know.
Yeah, hey, Dad. So I love you guys so much.
Oh, much love, Mal. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, that was great though, Terry, and I'm glad that it was worthy of the moment. Where will the fine and lovely people see you next?
Whenever stuff is happening here next, which I assume is next Tuesday, as you said earlier.
Yes, next Tuesday, yes.
Oh, let me think. And aside from that,
Remember,
every other Tuesday I'm here, and other than that, people can follow me on the Twitters and on the Instagrams at TariToons. And very occasionally, I do art streams over on my Twitch channel, also at TariToons. Like, just Google my name, you will find me somewhere. That.
And next week noon Eastern, so later, our normal-ish in quotes start time.
Like I usually just like when I get out of bed, I check.
You check to make sure on a Tuesday,
Yeah.
Yeah, 2 intense episodes for Terry. Well, again, and I will say, and I the jokes about the onions, I totally understand that, but I think everyone here will agree with me, and from a GMing perspective as well, and I'm sure Will would agree on this point too, that tears are also a part. I mean, we are creatures that are built on emotion, and again, Gandalf's right. Like, not all tears are an evil, and it's not just about allergies or onions. It's about the legitimate expression of feeling. And I know that everyone in chat knows that too, but I want to, I don't want to, dismiss it. It was an intense moment from a very good player. So, good stuff. All right. Now, before I also weep some more, I will move right on up the line. to Will. Will, I know that Robar didn't have a lot of front stage work here, although there was stuff that was happening. Yeah, exactly. All the talking. But I guess what Amal said about, witnessing something else was part of this. So I'm curious about how you felt about things. And also, you were really important because you reminded me about leveling you to 6. So that was really critical, too.
That was my contribution.
How'd you feel about today? Will people see you next?
No, I love that, man. Like it's one of my favorite things about D&D, and when you're in a really good group when you just get to sit back and watch people roleplay for 3 hours and be super invested in the story and their stories. That's sort of what it's about, some episodes are about your characters, some episodes, you've got to share the screen and just let it take its course. And a lot of the time, it's better if you don't interrupt. And if there's something going on, it's just like sit back and let it play out. But what I was really impressed by was Arv was like, all right, we're off to adventure on a mountain, and Terry's like, hey, can we do the scene? And then Arv just pulls this one for
I know.
Well, I had the thing is I had thought about this scene already. I just didn't think it was going to happen today, but I had worked it out. I actually started working out a part of this scene when Terry told me the background. Because because of that. So that's why when we started doing it, and then I briefly forgot her mom's name. I felt bad because I thought Terry was gonna be like, "You forgot everything." I'm like, I didn't forget everything. I thought about stuff. I have all this whole thing set. I'm ready. No, I wasn't mad. I was mad at myself and just like, God damn it. But I'm serious, because all these people are like, don't you remember my backstory? I'm like, you're player, this is the 30th character I'm thinking about. But anyway, no, I had this scene that I'd been thinking about, or a version of it. Also, the other thing, and I'm so sorry, Will, just interrupt, but just one thing I wanted to say about it. I also did not want this to seem like, I also wanted to do honor to what her mother actually is, because I didn't want to make this is the thing that happens in something like Guardians of the Galaxy, right? Where, you have the mom there and there's the whole thing, the same thing, like dealing with cancer, etc. And I am aware, and Terry is sadly aware, and we are aware of what that looks like in real life. And I didn't want to make that something where I took away the players, I get to hang out with my parents, and then I make it into just everyone is sad and despairing, which is why I wanted to give the note of hope, which Tolkien, I think, brilliantly always includes in his work. And that, I think, is the point here, which is not, and then it's all over and she's dead. I would never, as they call it, fridge a mother, ever. I would never do that. It's lazy writing. I think you can sacrifice is one thing, consequences are one thing, death is one thing, but I would never fridge someone. In case you don't know what that means, you can look it up. Basically,
or read 90s DC comics.
Yeah, or that.
I know it. I know it. From originally.
Well, or even frankly, even a lot of modern day, video game narratives too, which is frustrating as hell. It's one of the biggest problems with Shadow of Mordor. That one of the big motivations is that they kill his wife in the first 5 minutes, and I am going to spoil that for you because it's a bullshit, lazy narrative device. You don't need to do it that way, and so I didn't want to do that, but I did want to connect them together and give Inga context, because she has a lot of shadow points and she's about to go into a place where she could get a lot more. And so I wanted to kind of create some concept. Yeah, exactly.
That's an actual issue for her.
There are, as we'll talk about next week, there are literally regular shadow point checks you have to make just by traversing the land. It's very,
So Inga's staying home and looking after her mom.
Yeah, I'm just gonna hear the mom. But anyway, so
it's good.
But yeah, so I just wanted to say that I had been thinking about it, but yeah. So sorry, Will, go on.
Okay, can I say one more thing?
Yeah,
please?
Jump in here.
Because you mentioned Guardians of the Galaxy, I weirded everybody out at the cinema because I was bawling my eyes out in the first 5 minutes.
Sure.
It was just too much.
Of course. Same. We've talked about it. Same.
Okay, go on.
I don't already had too much else to say, really. I think this is some of the best things about D&D is actually getting to hit those pressure points every now and again, and always leads to interesting stuff as long as everyone's having a good time. It can be cathartic. I've had scenes, scenes like that, and it's definitely a good thing. So I'm excited for next episode. It'd be a different tone, but that's a fun thing about particularly Adventures in Middle Earth. Sometimes you hit just really reflective episodes, and that's what Tolkien's work is, all about in sections. It's not all action. It's not all crazy
and
fighting
it sets
dragons
off the action. Like when the action happens, you're like, whoa, because of that.
now this means something.
Yeah,
we're not just fighting orcs for no reason. There's a real human element to it, which I like a lot. If you want to follow me, I quit Twitter, but you can follow my company's account, which is @EncounterRP. You can join the Encounter Roleplay Discord as well if you want to come find me there. I hang out every now and again. So and also follow Kobold Press. We're on Twitch tonight at 8:00 Eastern. With Dan Dillon, who's one of the writers for D&D Wizards. So come along at 8 to twitch.tv/Kobold Press and find me there.
Great stuff, Will, again. And Will, again, just as a reminder, if you wouldn't mind sending me a link to or an invite to your Discord when you get a chance, I'm going to do that sometime today. But thank you, Will. Great stuff. And last but certainly not least, as always, Tren, excellent work today as well. You got a chance to actually do some of this healing that you might not have expected, because it felt like it was going to be a heavily Inga focused episode, which it was, but you got a chance to sort of do it. And I love the idea that you were regaling her with stories while you're waiting for the hagweed, because you're not just going to be like, well, I will just like swirl a potion for no reason, like
exactly.
So I thought it was neat to kind of see that kind of get played out about different things you could do, and working with people that are sick, that isn't just give them a bunch of medicines and hope for the best. You're treating them. Important. You're treating the mind as well as the body. Yeah. So
exactly.
So how'd you feel about today? Where were the lovely folks?
I loved it. There were a goodly portion of the point where I was basically like this, and I'm just sitting here. Just the wheels are just burning at light speed, tracking everything. It's like, okay, what can I do? What can I do? And I'm like, I know if I can get a hold of some hagweed, I can help with Inga's shadow point there. I mean, only 1 point, but still, it's it's something. And then as more and more of the situation with the mother developed, I was like, oh, okay, I'll bet it would help her too.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And while admittedly the last line in the description for the hagweed is a master healer can only cure 1 shadow point using hagweed per year. So we can't do that again for a while.
That's it was worth doing, trust me.
Yeah, I think so too. So
also narratively great. By the way, like mechanically, that was, it's a good thing you did it. Narratively, it was freaking great. In fact, I continue to be in awe of how many times this game, and any 5e game really, or I shouldn't say that, role-playing games in general are capable of having mechanics fit the narrative. I don't know if it's just that humans are really good at ex post factoing everything, so it seems like it was perfect, but the fact that you were like, and now you're studying lore, and you happen to level up to this point where you have this whole master, this scholarly thing that allows you to do X, Y, and Z, and I'm like, this is all perfect. This is perfect. Like, oh my God.
And the dice play into the narrative as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Way often.
Yes, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
When does the calendar year cut over? Yes, he did this on December 31st. Yeah!
Exactly.
No.
Exactly.
No. Not so much. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the mark of a great player, Runel. I'm very lucky. All these are really, really fine players. So that's the case. But great stuff, Trent. Where will they see you next?
I don't think we have D&D this weekend. I think it's
correct. We do not.
So you'll see me here on Tuesday again.
Yes, again, as a reminder to people, noon Eastern this time, next time. But I'm very excited about it. Again, it's very healing for me, not just to play my favorite game in D&D with some of my favorite people here, but also to get to do that in a world that was... this is what got me interested in reading and fantasy. It has channeled much of my life. And it's a real gift to play this game, so thank you. So,
aside from that, the BattleTech audiobook, which just came out recently.
Oh, yes.
Which is already up there. Arudina was kind enough to do the command a few minutes ago.
Yep. Buy that audiobook. If you want to see more stuff from a really fine voice actor, Tren won't say it, but I will. Very, very fine voice actor and narrator, then you should do that. Tren is going places. More of this is going to be happening. In fact, you may hear him connected with a certain Kickstarter that I'm doing soon. So yeah, seriously, buy it and support, because the way to get more of this is to support them. So
even if you don't buy it, I mean, just go to that link and there's a retail sample that you can click and just listen to the thing. Give it a listen.
And if you
cost
like
anything
it,
to
give it
listen
a
to
good
just yet.
review, not just the book, but the
Right.
audio. If you like it,
Right.
give it a good review too. So, but thank you very much, everyone. I am going to let you go, chat. We still have our Patreon field game to deal with, to vote for, but I won't keep these folks for that. So I will see these lovely people next week. Thank you so much to Trendane, to Will, to Terry. Again, wonderful work today, Terry. And again, to Amal. And I will see all of you wonderful people very soon. Check, we get some love for them, and players, great stuff. Bye for now.
Bye, everyone.
Okay. Oh my God. Yeah, I mean, like, again, as they said, you know, not all sessions are like this, and it's a good thing because otherwise you'd just be like, oh my God, what? But again, the reason you do this is because it matters. You know, it matters on a fundamental level. And I'm so glad that we're able to play a game with people that understand that it matters and sort of put something like this into it. It's deeply rich, and I am very sorry to ever cause anyone sadness or pain, and I don't ever want to do that gratuitously. But if it's something which can eventually lead to a sense of healing, then that's worth it. And I don't joke around when I say that this is not just fun and games. It is a lot of fun and games, but it's not just that. I have profound respect for the power of role-playing to do a lot. And so I wasn't necessarily expecting to go through it today, but fortunately I do have a cinnamon crumb muffin, which I can, will allow me to kind of pull myself together as we go through this. But it was wonderful. So great stuff from the players here. Now, we have a vote to be held, folks. Nominations today for the Chat Chosen Game of the Month. So if you give me just a second, I'm going to pop this up here. And by the way, thank you for the kind words as well in chat. I appreciate that. I'm blessed to have the best viewers on Twitch. I've said this many times, but I really appreciate everyone's participation and like active commentary about it. I mean, I really, that really matters. It matters for the players. It matters for me. It really, the other viewers, it really matters when folks are into it. So I'm really grateful for that. So thank you. That's not something that, it's never an expectation that people do that, but it's so lovely that people are willing to do that. So thank you. One of my cover bands, Cinnamon Crumb, it should have been. Exactly, Rudnell. It's how I feel for sure. Okay, so this game, we're going to have nominations today, and then we will have the final vote will take place next week after our session, and then the game itself will be played the week after that. So it will be played the last weekend or last Tuesday of February, which will be the 25th, so 2 weeks from today. So now I will nominate. Now, Firewatch, I've already played in one coven, so I can't use Firewatch again because I've already played it. I like that game too, except the ending really pissed me off, but I like the game. So unfortunately, that is not going to work. Growl Lancer 2. Okay, what else? One nomination per person. Frostpunk. Okay. Fine with that too. What else? Oh yes, Heroes of Might and Magic 3. I'm going to do Hom 3. Always happy to do that. Those are 3 good ones. Other choices. I can take 3 more nominations. I have Growl Lancer 2, Frostpunk, Hom 3. Dark Souls. No, you know what? Aaron, I've already played Dark Souls, to be honest with you, and I have to be honest, it's really not my game. It's just I find it too frustrating and tedious, although I like some of the world building. However, if you like those kinds of games, I just finished playing one of my favorite games of the last 5 years, which was Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. It was great. And it has Dark Souls combat with that. So if you look on my YouTube channel, you can see past broadcasts of that, because I love that game. So good. I have played in One to the Moon. Gorgeous game. Gorgeous game. But I've already played it. Great, though. You trying to get me crying again, Coven? Oh, man, that game is so good. Other choices, other possibilities. The only thing that I don't want to play, I reserve the right to veto games that I've already played or that I'm going to be playing very shortly. Also, I don't play horror games of any type. So that's the only thing. Spooky, I can play, but horror, I'm not. It's just not my thing. It's not. I don't hate. I mean, I don't think they're bad. I just not my deal. I'm stuck on emotional. I can't imagine why, Coven. I mean, what would give you that? Why would you be emotional right now? Can't imagine. I have not played Soma. That's too freaky for me, Coven. I've seen that played a little bit. It's too freaky. Fahrenheit. No, you know what, Aaron? That's a great choice, but I've already played it. I already played in one Fahrenheit 451. Not 451. What am I saying? Fahrenheit, which was also known as Indigo Prophecy. I played it as Indigo Prophecy in the States. And I actually am also, I started playing the Patreon-fueled game last month, was Detroit Become Human, which I'm going to come back to again in the future. So yeah, I don't think Cage's games are perfect. I think he tends to be a little too obvious in some of the ways he does stuff, but he has a lot of great ideas. So I absolutely liked Indigo Prophecy back in the day. No, I'm not. I just horror. No. Yeah. 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 No, I know. It was called, you know what too, Aaron? I played that on PC and oh my God, the control system sucked. Like I was playing it on a laptop or whatever. And like, I got through the game cause I liked it I liked it a lot anyway, but oh my God, it was so frustrating with this thing. Yeah. I can't imagine why. It's cause I teach it is why in the past, or I have taught it in the past. So yeah, no, I'm just really not into the I do like spy thrillers. Spy thrillers are cool, but like regular thrillers, it's not. Yeah, it's good stuff. It's good, Aaron. It's good. I would recommend trying to get it with a controller, trying to use a controller with it if you can. And it has some of the, I mean, if you've played Beyond Two Souls, or if you've played Heavy Rain, or if you've played Detroit Become Human, you know the drill. Like, there's lots of QTEs. There's a lot of, like, heavy emotional stuff. And sometimes too much. Like, again, I feel like some of it's too obvious. But still, I mean, it's good stuff. And he's definitely a better writer than, I think, Kojima is even more like this. Kojima has some excellent ideas that then I just think he has some excellent ideas combined with some very strange ideas. And it's too obvious. It's like hit you in the head type of stuff. So Cage is not as bad as that. But like, I always think of him and Kojima as being these guys who are like really cool ideas. And then some of the execution, you're like, eh. Oh, okay. You played all of them. Oh, nice. On my second shelf from the top. Oh, what are those cups? Let's see. Those are actually all gavels that I won from my debating career. During my debate time, I won about 40 speaker awards. So those are all of my speaker awards. I'll show you one of the top speaker ones. So, yeah, this is the second first place speaker award I ever got. First place, Providence College. It was 1995's debate tournament for them. And then this was the World's Preparatory Tournament, Mount Holyoke. And I won first one in this, and one of the prizes for this was a free LSAT prep course. And I'm like, yeah, not going to be a lawyer, thanks. So somewhere out there's a LSAT prep course with my name on it, which is not going to get used now. And then let's see, which one is this one? And this was let's see. So Providence College, actually, yeah, Providence College was my first ever. That first one I showed you was my first ever top speaker award. This was my second, and this one was also one that we won, Bates College. And most of the gavels, this is what you would get. These other ones are a little bit fancier, but yeah, so. Talos Principle. Oh my God, he keeps coming up with great ones, but I already played and won the Talos Principle. In fact, I even interviewed the writers of Talos Principle on this stream. I like Talos Principle, but I already did it, so. One on my good looks. Thank you, Rhiannon. Thank you. Check is in the mail. I appreciate it. So yeah. Anyway, that's what those are. And I display them. You know, I wasn't actually when we moved in here, it was my wife's idea to sort of create shelves for this because I mean, I'm proud of it. You know, I worked hard on my debate. I did international debate as well, and I was proud of it. I was the runner-up, the international public speaker competition. They had a world public speaking competition. I was the runner-up in that twice, and I was very proud of that. And also when I then got into coaching, then I coached a very successful team. And in fact, Russ, who you know from the Our Vocalists, Russ was one of the debaters that I coached on that team. So yeah, I was excited. Yeah, I have a list of exactly what Nonstop said. My finished game list is in the profile bottom of the stream. So you can actually see down there all the games that I've won. Russ is doing great. I mean, the only reason he hasn't been able to do Our Vocalist stuff is because he has a 9 to 5 day job now. So not 9 to 5. It's really a little bit later than that, like 9 to whatever, 9 to 6 or 7. So basically what happens is when he gets home, he kind of doesn't want to be like, okay, thanks, and then go and help his wife with the 2 kids and like be like, all right, thanks, I got to go, play games now for another couple hours. So that's why we haven't been able to work out a schedule to accommodate him yet. But I'm hoping soon either his schedule or our schedule will change so that we can get him back in more regularly. But he's doing great. He's doing fine. Russ is doing great. And you can find out about, we do a comedy show called themepreport.com if you ever want to listen to some of that stuff. Metal Gear Solid. Okay, now this is important. So I've played and won Metal Gear Solid. Let me think. I played the first, I think I've won that one. I played Metal Gear, I haven't won, let me see if I can start a sentence and finish it. Which is the one that was the most recent one? Do you know what I mean? The one where he's like going through Afghanistan. I haven't played that one. I've played and won Metal Gear 1. I played and won Metal Gear 2. And then the last one I played was Sons of Liberty, I think. The Phantom Pain, that's right. I haven't played that one. I think I played up through Sons of Liberty. Metal Gear Survive? Wait, what? Is that a game or is that an actual one of the games, or Sons of Liberty is number 2? Oh, really? Oh, right, okay. So it goes Metal Gear 1, I'm talking about the Metal Gear from Nintendo I played, the original Nintendo. And then I played the first Metal Gear, and then Metal Gear 2 Sons of Liberty I also played. I played up through 4, I think it was. I'm not playing Metal Gear Survive. No, okay, then it is Zombie. No, thank you. But I forget what the third, God damn it, I forget what the order of all these were. It was like Metal Gear 1, okay, so Twin Snakes was 1, Sons of Liberty was 2, Snake Eater was 3. Okay, so then in that case, the last one I played was, because Sons of Liberty was on the PS. What was it on? All right, wait, I'm looking at the series of action adventure games. On PlayStation 2. Yes. The last one I played was Sons of Liberty then, because I did not play Guns of the Patriots. Okay, so I have not played Guns of the Patriots or Phantom Pain. Or no. Yeah, Guns of the Patriots or... For some reason they don't have this listed. I know I haven't played Revengeance, but I also haven't played the other one. Okay, see you, Coven. I haven't played the other one. Isn't there Phantom Pain, right? Yeah, there it is, Phantom Pain and Ground Zeroes. Yeah, I didn't do any of those. I haven't played Peace Walker. The last one that I played was Sons of Liberty. That was the last one. So which one do you want to nominate? Oh, I did play Throne of Ball, yeah. I played all the Baldur's Gates and the expansions, yep. Snake Eater. All right, so do you want to put that one forward? Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater? What is the Twin Snakes? What is Twin Snakes? Wait, it's the first... What do you mean it's the first one? No, I played the first one. Oh, okay, so that's the subtitle? I just thought it was just called Metal Gear Solid. I don't know what the subtitle was. Okay. So I did play the first... It didn't have a subtitle. Okay, so what do you mean it's the first one? I don't understand. Metal Gear Solid is the first one, right? I played that. Then I played Metal Gear Solid 2, Sons of Liberty. Then what is the Twin Snakes? Is Twin Snakes number 3 or is Snake Eater number 3? Oh, they remastered it. Oh. Okay, that's fine. All right, so Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater is its own separate game, yes? So Snake Eater is not remastered. It's its own separate deal, right? Is that right? Okay, awesome. There we go. I have not played it. I will happily play it if it wins the vote. Sounds good. I am glad we worked that out. Okay, so good. 2 more choices, folks. 2 more options. I have Growlancer 2, Frostpunk, HOM 3 Complete, Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. I'm happy with all these so far. Any other choices? Toonstruck. You know very well I played that game, sir. Thank you for the follow, Aaron. I can see that you got excited, Aaron, when you're like, ooh, now I need to follow in case he plays it. Yeah, well, Trendane knows that because Trendane suggested it the last time. I'm playing The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt today on Pen and Pixels, Rhiannon, actually. I'm playing it right now. You'll have to be, now, the only thing is, I don't know, you'll have to be careful, Aaron, about the whole backseating thing, because there are times if I get stuck on something that I will ask for help, but otherwise I know it's hard for people, especially if it's their favorite game, to be like, I don't, like not say stuff. Are you going to be cool watching? Like, especially if you feel like I'm missing something obvious. Are you cool with just watching it there? Yeah, Witcher 3 in a couple hours, man. I just finished, actually, the whole Croc side quest thing and all that. I guess there's a mainish quest, but whatever. That's cool. I mean, and I don't really, I'm not like really hardcore about it, but I just, I wanted to make sure that you weren't disappointed if I didn't do things exactly the right way. Okay, so any other choices, or are we sticking with these 4? Yeah, I prefer people not to unless I ask, that's all. But yes, so any other choices from people? Everyone who nominated doesn't get another one. You all got your 1 nomination. Anyone who hasn't nominated, you have any others? I'm going to close nominations in just a second. So I'm going to give this a little bit of a last. I'm going to set us up here. Is the Witcher 3 is the best game, Rhiannon, or this game, Metal Gear Solid 3? Which one, Snake Eater or that one? Witcher 3, yeah. Witcher 3 is great. I mean, it's really great. It is super good. Okay, then I'm going to say that we're going to go with this. Okay, so I'm going to open this. So the way this works, folks, the top 3 vote getters will move on to the vote, which is going to be put in a next game command. And then that final vote will be open until next week. At the end of our session next week, we'll close it. And then I will play it the Tuesday after that at noon Eastern. So I'm going to open this poll. So now you can vote by going $vote space and then the number of the choice you want. 1 for Growlancer, 2 for Frostpunk, 3 for HOM 3, 4 for Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. So get your votes in. Also great, Rhiannon, is the music. That opening theme, that ba 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 da 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 dun 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 is the best. And whenever I do something in a game that I feel good about, one of the best things ever. Whenever you're feeling good about the day, whenever you had an awesome role-playing session, whenever you eat a bite of cinnamon muffin, oh man. Okay. Yeah, with no raisins. definitely. When Metal Gear Solid wins the vote. Well, we'll see. One other thing, Aaron, by the way, remember that this is just the nominations. Once we get the nominations, then you'll have a chance for people to get in and vote. And one thing that happens, Nonstop can attest to this. There have been times in the past where you've had to, like Nonstop had a couple times where you had to nominate a game like 3 or 4 months in a row, but it finally did get played because eventually it won the vote and I did play it. I think that was maybe Breath of Fire 3. And that's actually on my list to return to as part of my normal games. Metal Gear Solid 3, if it wins the vote, is going to get just a session. And then if I like it, then I will put it on my list of games to play next to kind of, after I finish the game I'm playing right now, which is Operencia the Stolen Sun. Yeah, I know. Eventually it's going to get there, Echo. Eventually it will get there. And as you know, I love the Heroes of Might and Magic series. So I have played and won Heroes of Might and Magic 1 and 2 on stream. So I probably have a slight preference for 2, but that's mostly nostalgia. So, all right. So we've got some votes. Ugh. Yeah, you like that. That was not one of your shining moments, all right, Nonstop? No, it's okay. It was fine. Yeah. So we've got 3 for HOM 3, 1 each for Groundlancer 2, Frostpunk, or Metal Gear Solid. I'm going to last call this, but we do need to get some. One of these games needs to not end up with a single vote, because right now HOM 3 is definitely going to go through, but I don't want to put 4 on the next game. I only want to put 3 on there. So if we can get another vote, first of all, we can get another couple of votes for other games, that would be helpful. And or if someone who voted for a game doesn't mind changing their vote, if it seems like it's not going to win, don't mind changing their vote to another game, just so we can have 3. Like, I would like a choice of 3 would be great. Yeah, and I like the charm of Heroes 2 also. I like turn-based stuff regardless. I also really like the cinnamon muffin. Hey, Dragon. Dragon Spear, today we're going to be seeing, you're going to get a chance to see, excuse me. You're going to get a chance to see the new PC Unleashed over at GOG. Dragon Spear is responsible for putting this together. What's up, questionable results? All right, so we got 3 votes for HOM 3, and we've got 2 votes each for Groundlancer 2 and Metal Gear Solid 3. Last call for these. Yeah, Dragon Spear was the one who really helped put this together. He also sent me a number of the parts and everything, so he deserves all credit for this. However, I'm fairly proud of myself that I managed to build the thing. It's a lot easier than I remember it from previous PC builds, but it still took me some hours to put it all together, and I'm glad that I did it and turned it on and it didn't burst into flames. So I'm fairly proud of myself that it came together, and it looks nice too. In fact, you know what? I'm going to show you guys. I think I can. Oh, can I? No, I know what I'll do. Okay. I'll show you folks this. All right. Let me move ArvBot for a second. Okay. And I don't have my flashlight with me, darn it. Okay. Shoot, I need to, well, All right, hang on a second. Okay. Yeah, I think it's safe for work. All right, here we go. So, there is the computer. There's the inside of it. So you can see there we go. So you can see this stuff, right? It's a NZXT. It is a it's not Cooler Master. It's an NZXT. It's a Cooler Master cooler for the CPU. But here's the thing that killed me about this, like that I couldn't believe when I got it. I'm gonna have to move RBot again for this. Here's the thing that got me. So check this out. Look at the card. It's an RX 580, and it's like the card is freaking huge. Like it's got three freaking it's got 3 fans. It's seriously it's like the size of the case. It's nuts. And yes, it's an RX 580. It's a Republic of Gamers. I know it. No, I know. It's a nice card. And the other thing that I liked about this, that Dragon and I set it up this way, so that this thing is basically future-proof for years. Because I will be able to get it. All right. Thank you for the tour of my facilities. I will be able to get this. Basically, I'll be able to get new CPUs and everything. Yeah, exactly. He sent me a 1200 watt PSU power supply. So it was pretty crazy. So I was, yeah. Okay. So it was nuts. But again, like it's designed to have headroom. So the point was, I didn't want anything to ever have to worry. I didn't want to have to worry about it. I didn't want to be like, okay, I got to go back and do this again in 2 years. Like I was like, no. Now I also have 32 gigs of RAM in there, which are way more than I will need for a long time. So this way, the only thing I have to expand when I get there is a GPU. And maybe if I ever needed to get another SSD, and that's it. Like I can just get another GPU to expand at some point, like down the line. And it's a pretty good card as it is. But I mean, I can get other things down the line too. So which is very exciting. CPU was your problems heating the room. But remember, I'm not using all that at once, though. I'm not drawing anywhere close to that amount of power. Not even close. So, I was like, no. That's, yeah, right, exactly. I was like, that is absurd. That is absurd talk. I don't need that. But yeah. So, and as far as the CPU, I got an i5, and we got, what did we get, Dragon? An i5 what? It's actually, I have an i7 on my streaming PC, but I got an i5 something or other. Exactly, Rhiannon, exactly. And the thing is, my streaming PC is already a good PC, but the problem is that having that, even though that it's like 3.5 years old now, or 3 years old, I guess. But the problem is having that while it's also trying to record games and also trying to stream games puts a strain on it, which means that it kind of, when I play games, it stutters. Like the thing I was amazed at, playing with this 2 PC setup with Operencia, I was like, oh my God, it looks gorgeous. Just like smooth as butter, right? Yeah, it's just like chef's kiss. This is so good. And that's what I wanted. I wanted it to be a nice, smooth experience for you folks. Especially as things have continued to ramp up with the channel, I want it to look nice. And what really got me thinking about it was after what happened with Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, where it was kind of, excuse me, where it was sort of, excuse me, where it was chugging a little bit. and I was having difficulty. It was not chugging for me, but for you folks, it was like, and so I ended up having to install it on PS4 instead. Now that was fine, and it worked out great and whatever, but it would have looked a little better on PC. And, it just, I think it probably would have been better, all things being equal, quality-wise, for it to be on PC if given a choice. And obviously the load times would have been a lot better also. And so I thought, well, the way to fix this problem, because my Elgato HD60 Pro is a really good capture card, the way to, I already capture my Switch through that, I capture my Wii U through that, I capture my Retron through that, I capture my PS4 through that. So why don't I just get this, run one HDMI cable from the gaming PC to the streaming PC, and I'm good to go. Like, honestly, the only cables that I've got coming out of the back are the power cable, the network cable, and the HDMI cable. I don't need to put anything else, because all of the other stuff, all the audio, everything else is all run through the streaming PC, because I don't need audio to go directly into the gaming PC. It's feeding everything to this, and then I have OBS on, and I can play that even without being on stream. As long as I have OBS on, I can have OBS on. I don't have to be streaming it. It can just be on, and then I have the pass-through, so I can see it on my central monitor. So it's like super cool. Boot time is good. It's not quite as fast as my streaming PC, but it's close. It's pretty good. Boot time is good. And also I was doing a lot of booting when I was installing different programs and stuff, so now I'm going to have a chance to actually count it from like ground zero up and see what it's like. So, yeah. But again, if anyone needs help with this, there's a lot of people on there who can help with these things, and I want to recommend Dragon Spear to, I don't want to volunteer his services, but if he's willing, he's always willing to consult. There's a lot of people who know how to build their own stuff, and as I say, I built PCs myself, but Dragon really was helpful in giving me an idea about ways to think about alternatives and what stuff works and what doesn't. So anyway, okay, that's going to be it. The vote going once, going twice, and... Okay, so here we go. So the nominees for this month are, this is a good list, HOM 3 Complete, Growlancer 2, and Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. Those are your three choices. And if you would be willing to put it as part of a next game command, someone, and if one of my mods could then attach that to the next game command, that would be lovely. Thank you, Echo. Right. And the thing about the GPU that I found that was really helpful is I wanted it to be a solid GPU. I have a 1060 in this PC, which is still a good card, but I wanted to have a at least as good, if not better, card for the other PC. And then that's the thing, if like, I mean, I pay off a lot of bills, lots of things come in, suddenly we get big sales on some of the books, and I like get a little Christmas money. I could see myself at some point upgrading the GPU even further. I don't want to do it now. I just got this card, but I'm saying like, that will help me future-proof it even further. It's going to take a long time before I hit a 32 gig RAM ceiling. It's going to be a long time before, there's a game that goes above what I'm capable of putting out on this one, which is exactly why I wanted it done this way. So, okay, so we have the next game. All right, sounds good. Thank you again for the assistance, Echo. All right, so the month that we are playing is... So there you go. So there's your vote, folks. That's what you want to put in. Thank you for doing that, Arunel. Get in your votes now on that command. Go ahead and vote that. That will be open until next week. And then we will close it down, and then I will play whatever the winner is the weekend after that. But that is going to do it for me for today, because I have got to go and have some lunch and get a little bit of work done. I will be over at Pen and Pixels at my normal time, I should say on GOG.com, for my show Pen and Pixels, my normal time, 4 p.m. Eastern. So I'm not going to do a raid because I'm hoping people are going to be going there instead. That would be lovely. But that's the deal with that. So I'm going to be over there, as I say, at 4 p.m. Eastern, and I will be playing The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, and you will get a chance to see this new setup in action for the first time. So it'll be the first time that I've done it also on a stream. I've tested it with recordings and the like, but this will be the first time we're testing it with stream as well. So I am looking forward to seeing how that runs. And that's the deal for that. Tomorrow evening, I will be back here, or I should say people will be back here with Shadowed Mage as the DM, and then Echo Alpha X5, Kilobyte, Rock God, and Hoodie playing Dragon of Icespire Peak. That'll be day 2 of my community D&D game with them. then on that I'm not going to be there, but I will be there watching, but I will not be participating directly in that one, but it'll be here on this channel. So that's at 9 p.m. tomorrow. At Thursday night at 8:30 p.m. will be the next Rambo Academy for Wayward Writers class taught by Kat Rambo. If you're interested in writing and narrative, this is the thing for you. And then Friday and Saturday I will be up at BossCon, and Sunday I'll be up at BossCon in Boston, which is a long-running convention there, doing panels and the like. There's no official stream scheduled, but I may try to do an unofficial stream. So we'll see. But I don't have anything officially planned for those days because I knew I was going to be up there. And then next Tuesday, I will be back here, same bat time, same bat channel, or a little bit later bat time, actually, noon Eastern, for the next Adventures of Middle-earth session as these players move into the Withered Heath. So it's going to be good times. But it's going to be good stuff. I'm excited, looking forward to it. It'll be cool. So that's going to do it for now. I want to thank everyone who made this an awesome stream. Don't forget to follow the channel. Check out the YouTube with !ArvTube, Discord with !ArvCord, Twitter with !ArvTweets. Website for all of that is arvanelleron.com. And don't forget, of course, the financial ways to support !ArvTreon is the Patreon. You can get cool stuff for you. You can do !ArvShop, which is the merchandise area that allows you to support us by getting material for Infinity and Beyond. And for Adventures of Middle-earth, we have illustrations for you of the cartoon made by our professional cartoonist, Terry Toons. Not only is she a good player, she's also a wonderful cartoonist. So we have that as well. And then last but certainly not least, we have that sub button sitting right above the video window. Right now we are sitting at, let me take a look here. We are sitting at 44 subscribers. Okay, so 45 subscribers right now is what we're sitting at, with 5,924 followers. So we are 76 followers away from 6,000, and we are 6 subscribers away from 50. So we are making our way downtown, as the song goes, making our way in the right direction. So that is the deal with that. So please consider subbing. You can get a custom sub badge. You can get an emotes that are sub-based and all that kind of good stuff. And, of course, my publishing stuff, ! Icarus is my library. Let's start with that. ! Library is my 5e compatible adventure sourcebook with contributions from many, many authors, including the inimitable Ed Greenwood and others. That is available at DriveThruRPG in PDF form. Is being sent to the printers and will be back from them in about 5 weeks, at which point it will be available in print copy as well. Also, the ! Library for that, ! Icarus for my graphic novels, Icarus and Jelinek, which will be released in May from Athos Arts. That is on pre-sale right now, so you should pick those up if you want a great story about a young man with wings who falls into the heart of a volcano and the creatures that he finds there. I'm very proud of that story, and the art is really amazing on that. And last but certainly not least, ! Greyshade KS for details about my Greyshade Literary Universe Kickstarter with an RPG, a board game, an audiobook, and of course the novels themselves. That is all going to be kickstarted starting in late March, and I'll have an official announcement later this month about all the details of that. So that is what's happening with this. Bye for now, Echo. And thank you, everybody. Lovely to see all of you today. Really good work from chat today. Thank you so much as well to the Raiders, in particular D20 TV. Thank you so much for everyone who hosted. Thank you for the Raid D20 TV. And I hope everyone who came from there and elsewhere liked what they saw and heard. There's a lot more where that came from if you did. Thanks to my wonderful mods, Arudinel, Dragonspear, Terry Toons, and Sod. Again, I'll talk about the players again in a minute. Thank you to my wonderful subscribers, Arudinel, Dragonspear, Echo Alphx5, Nonstop, Ali Freeborn, D20 TV, and Arinth. And thank you again so much, Arudinel, for the gift subs, and Echo Alphx5 for gifting the subs to others as well. Thank you for the follow, Hunt NYX. Welcome. Thank you to my wonderful viewers, 99 Morningstar, Aaron XCVI. Thank you, Abine, Alfred Judicus, Amal, more about her in just a minute. Big Jim Slade Gaming, Commander Root, Darken Wolf. What's up, Darken Wolf? ECAG, Fire Snake Aries. What's up, man? Giza, Joe Monzavo, Kale Dory 31, Lemchast, Lurks, Mubot, I guess. Nastia6996, Nergerbert, Otakin, Questionable Results, Rhiannon, Sinhunyo87, the Wily Fox Cat MC game. Wow. The Wily Foxacat MC. The Wily Foxacat MC Gaming. Woo! That's a big one. You, Christensen, V&K, Virgo Praz, and Winsock. For all of those who are new, thank you all so much for following today. Thank you as well, All Night Design, for the follow. Appreciate it. Thank you for all the subs as well. Thank you to everyone who's been here. If you haven't already done so, please consider not just following, but subbing and supporting the Patreon if you can. Cool stuff for you and cool stuff for the channel. And special thanks today to my wonderful players, to Terry Toons, to Trendane, to Will Jones, and to Amal Elmatar. Such good players, good people, and I really have been enjoying playing it. So it was great stuff. And Paxi, I didn't see you, Paxi. You jumped back in. Good to see you, Paxi. Always a pleasure. You should follow Paxi as well. I've been lurking in her stream a little bit, watching her play, but Apex Legends and stuff. But thanks, everybody. Much love. No raid today because I'm going over to GOG in a couple hours, so I'll see you over there at 4 p.m. Eastern. Until then, everyone be good to each other. I will not say do not weep, for not all tears are an evil. And I'll catch you over at GOG playing some Witcher 3 Wild Hunt in just a little bit. Bye for now. Oh, and be good to each other.